A 13-year-old boy smiled during his trial for killing his mother. And then the judge made history. Before we begin, if you're interested in real criminal cases that challenge everything you thought you knew about justice, guilt, and the human mind, subscribe and turn on notifications. This story will stay with you long after it ends. The courtroom was silent, not the kind of silence that comes before something begins. This was the silence that follows something irreversible. The kind that presses against your chest and makes you hold your breath without realizing it. Judge Caroline Brenner sat at the bench, her reading glasses perched low on her nose. In her 32 years on the bench, she had sentenced murderers, gang leaders, white-collar criminals who destroyed lives with a pen stroke. But today was different. Today, she was about to sentence a 13-year-old boy. The gallery was packed. Journalists filled the back rows, pens hovering over notebooks. Court sketch artists worked in quick, silent strokes. Cameras weren't allowed inside, but outside, news vans lined the street for 3 blocks. This wasn't just a local case anymore. It had become something else. Something people couldn't look away from. In the front row sat a woman with graying hair and red-rimmed eyes. She hadn't stopped crying since the trial began 2 weeks ago. Her name was Linda Harmon. She was Amanda Keller's older sister, and Amanda Keller was dead. At the defense table sat a boy. Small for his age, thin shoulders, dark hair neatly combed, wire-rimmed glasses that made him look even younger than 13. His name was Eli Keller. He wore a pressed white shirt and gray slacks, clothes his public defender had picked out to make him look like what he was, a child. But there. Something about the way he sat. Hands folded on the table, back straight, eyes forward. No fidgeting, no nervous glances toward his aunt, no tears, just stillness. His attorney, Michael Ortiz, sat beside him. Ortiz was in his late 40s, a career public defender who'd handled dozens of juvenile CU cases, but none like this. He'd tried to prepare Eli for this moment, tried to explain what was about to happen. Eli had listened, nodded, said he understood. Ortiz wasn't sure he believed that. Judge Brenner cleared her throat. The microphone picked it up, amplified it through the speakers. Every head in the room turned toward her. "Will the defendant please rise?" Ortiz stood first. Eli followed a half-second later, slower than expected. Not reluctant, just deliberate. Like everything he did was calculated to the fraction of a second. The judge looked down at the papers in front of her. She'd read them a dozen times. The case file, the psychiatric evaluations, the forensic reports, the testimony transcripts. She knew every word. And still, it didn't make this easier. "Eli James Keller," she began, her voice steady but quiet. "You have been found guilty by this court of intentionally omission with aggravating circumstances under Section 304B of the State Criminal Code. This court has determined that on the night of March 14th, you possessed knowledge of your mother's intent to take her own life. You had the capacity to intervene. You had the opportunity to seek help. And you chose to do neither." The words hung in the air like smoke. Someone in the gallery gasped. A journalist whispered something to his colleague. The sketch artist's pencil stopped moving. Eli didn't move, didn't blink. His face remained perfectly still. Judge Brenner continued. "This court acknowledges your age. We acknowledge the complexities of your psychological profile. We acknowledge the trauma you may have experienced. But we also acknowledge the evidence, the video footage, the audio recordings, the timeline reconstructed by investigators, and the question this court cannot ignore. Why? Didn't you stop her?" She paused. "Let the question settle. You watched, you waited, and when it was over, you called no one." Eli's attorney placed a hand on his shoulder. A small gesture, supportive, protective. Eli didn't react to it. "The sentence of this court," Judge Brenner said, her voice growing firmer now, "is as follows. You will be remanded to the custody of the State Juvenile Justice Department. You will serve a minimum term until your 21st birthday. At that time, your case will be reviewed for potential transfer to adult incarceration, where you may face an additional sentence of up to life imprisonment. The room erupted. Not loudly, not violently, but the silence shattered. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone sobbed. A man in the third row stood up and had to be quietly asked to sit back down by a bailiff. Journalists scribbled furiously. And in the, middle of it all, Eli Keller stood perfectly still. Then something happened. It was small. So small that most people in the room didn't notice it at first. But the court photographer, a woman named Rachel Ewan, who'd been covering trials for 15 years, saw it. Her camera was already trained on. Eli's face waiting for the reaction. Waiting for the tears, the shock, the collapse that usually came when a defendant heard their sentence. Instead, she saw something else. Eli smiled. It wasn't a big smile. Not theatrical. Not meant for anyone. Just a slight upturn at the corner of his mouth. A, flicker. Like someone remembering a private joke. It lasted maybe 2 seconds. Rachel's finger pressed the shutter. Click. The sound echoed in her mind, even though no one else heard it over the murmuring crowd. She looked down at her camera screen, scrolled back to the image she'd just captured. There it was, Eli Keller, 13 years old, standing in a courtroom having just been sentenced to decades in prison, smiling. Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. She'd photographed killers before, people who showed no remorse. But this was different. This wasn't defiance, it wasn't arrogance. It was something she couldn't name. Then, as quickly as it appeared, the smile vanished. Eli's face crumpled. His shoulders shook. His hands came up to cover his face. A sound escaped his throat. Half gasp, half sob. His knees buckled slightly, and his attorney caught him by the arm, steadying him. "It's okay," Ortiz whispered. "I've got you." But Eli wasn't listening. He was crying now. Fully, desperately crying. His thin frame shook with it. Tears streamed down his face, soaking into the collar of his white shirt. He looked like what he was supposed to be, a terrified child. The bailiff approached, gently, professionally. "Time to go, son." Eli nodded through his tears. He wiped his face with the back of his hand, smearing his glasses. Ortiz squeezed his shoulder one more time before stepping back. As Eli was led toward the side door, the one that led to the holding area, and then to the transport van, and then to a place he'd call home for at least the next 8 years. He turned his head. Just slightly. Just enough to glance back at the gallery. His eyes swept across the faces. His aunt, still crying. The journalists, still writing. The strangers who'd come to watch, and then for just a fraction of a second, his gaze landed on Rachel Ewan. On the woman with the camera, she felt it. That look. It wasn't angry. It wasn't pleading. It was something else entirely. It was aware. Then he was gone. The door closed behind him with a heavy metallic thunk. The courtroom slowly began to empty. People filed out whispering, shaking their heads, checking their phones to see if the news had already broken online. Rachel Ewan stayed in her seat. She looked down at her camera again, at the photo of Eli's smile, and she thought about something the prosecutor had said. During closing arguments, a single line that had stuck with her. The scariest thing about this case isn't what Eli Keller did, it's what he didn't do, and the fact that he knew exactly what he was doing. Rachel saved the image, tagged it, sent it to the editor. Within 2 hours, that photo would be on the front page of every major news site in the country. Within a week, it would become one of the most analyzed images in modern criminal psychology. But right now, sitting alone in the emptying courtroom, Rachel just stared at it, at the boy who smiled when he should have cried, and cried when he should have been numb. She closed her camera. She didn't know it yet, but she'd just captured the moment that would define this case forever. Because the question everyone would ask wasn't what did Eli Keller do? It was why did he smile? And more importantly, what was he thinking when he did? The house on Maple Ridge Drive looked like every other house on the street. 2 stories, pale blue siding, white shutters, a small front lawn that stayed green even in late summer because Amanda Keller watered it every other evening. There was a mailbox shaped like a miniature barn, a basketball hoop in the driveway that no one used anymore, and a wooden porch swing that creaked when the wind picked up. It was the kind of house people drive past without noticing, the kind realtors call cozy and family-friendly, the kind where nothing bad is supposed to happen, but that's the thing about houses like this. They all look the same from the outside. September 14th, 6 months before Amanda Keller died. It was a Tuesday. Amanda worked from home that day, like most days. She was a freelance translator, English to Spanish, Spanish to English, legal documents mostly, contracts, depositions, immigration paperwork. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and it let her be home when Eli got back from school. She sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open, a mug of coffee cooling beside her, reading through a contract for a real estate firm in Phoenix. Her reading, glasses slid down her nose. She pushed them back up without thinking about it. The house was quiet. Too quiet sometimes. But Amanda had gotten used to it. It had been just the two of them for 8 years now. Ever since Derek left, or disappeared, or whatever you wanted to call what he did. Amanda didn't talk about Derek anymore. Not to her sister, not to her friends, and especially not to Eli. She glanced at the clock on the microwave. 3:47 p.m. Eli would be home any minute. Right on schedule, she heard the front door open, close. The sound of a backpack being set down carefully in the entryway. Footsteps on the hardwood floor. Soft, measured, never rushed. "Hey, honey," Amanda called out, not looking up from her screen. "Hey." Eli appeared in the kitchen doorway. 13 years old, small for his age, dark hair that always looked freshly combed even when it wasn't. Wire-rimmed. Glasses that he'd picked out himself last year. He wore a gray t-shirt and jeans, his backpack slung over one shoulder. "How was school?" Amanda asked. "Fine." "Just fine?" "Yeah," Amanda smiled. She was used to this. Eli wasn't much of a talker. Never had been, really. Even as a little kid, he'd been quiet, observant, the kind of child who watched everything and said very little. "Any homework?" "Some." "Need help with anything?" "No." Eli walked to the refrigerator, pulled out a carton of orange juice, and poured himself a glass. He drank it slowly, standing at the counter. Amanda watched. Him out of the corner of her eye. He looked tired, or maybe not tired, just distant, like his mind was somewhere else. "You okay?" she asked. Eli set the glass down, looked at her. His expression didn't change. "Yeah, why?" "I don't know. You seem quiet." "I'm always quiet." "I know, but—" Amanda trailed off. She didn't know how to finish that sentence. She'd been having this conversation with Eli a lot lately, asking if he was okay, asking if something was wrong, and he always said the same thing. "I'm fine." But something felt off. She couldn't name it, couldn't point to anything specific. It was just a feeling, a mother's instinct, the kind of thing people dismiss until it's too late. Eli rinsed his glass in the sink and set it in the dish rack. "I'm gonna go do my homework." "Okay, honey." He turned to leave, then stopped in the doorway, turned back. "Mom?" "Yeah?" Why? "You always ask me that?" Amanda blinked. "Ask you what?" "If I'm okay." She hesitated. The question caught her off guard. Not because it was aggressive or accusatory, but because Eli asked it like he genuinely didn't understand, like the concept of someone checking in on him was foreign. "Because I care about you," Amanda said carefully. "That's what parents do." Eli tilted his head slightly, like he was considering this, processing it. "But you ask it a lot," he said. "More than you used to." Amanda felt something tighten in her chest. She forced a smile. I don't know, Eli. I just want to make sure you're doing okay. That's all." Eli stared at her for a moment longer. Then he said something that would stay with Amanda for months. something she'd replay over and over in her mind late at night when she couldn't sleep. You keep asking because it seems like I'm waiting for something. Amanda's smile faltered. Waiting for what? Eli didn't answer. He just looked at her. That same calm, unreadable expression. Then he turned and walked upstairs. Amanda sat alone in the kitchen, her coffee now cold, the contract on her laptop screen forgotten. Waiting for something. What did that mean? She told herself it was nothing. Just a weird thing kids say sometimes. Eli was 13. Teenagers were moody, distant. That was normal, right? But the words stuck with her, because the truth was, she'd noticed it too. That sense of anticipation, like Eli was always watching, always listening, not in a paranoid way, not in a scared way, more like someone waiting for a movie to start. Amanda closed her laptop. She didn't feel like working anymore. That evening, they ate dinner together like they always did. Amanda made spaghetti, Eli's favorite, or at least it used to. He ate quietly, methodically, fork twirling the pasta in perfect, controlled movements. He didn't look at his phone, didn't talk unless Amanda asked him a direct question. "Did you finish your homework?" she asked. "Most of it." "What's left?" "Math. I'll do it after dinner." "Need any help?" "No." Silence again. Amanda tried to think of something else to say, something to break the quiet, but every conversation with Eli felt like this lately. Short answers, no elaboration, no emotion. She glanced at him across the table. He was chewing slowly, staring at a spot on the wall just past her. Shoulder. "Eli." "Yeah? Are you happy?" The question surprised even her. She hadn't planned to ask it. It just came out. Eli stopped chewing, set his fork down, looked at her directly for the first time all evening. "What do you mean?" "I mean, are you happy? Here, with me, at school, in general." Eli thought about this. Really thought about it like he was running calculations in his head. "I don't know," he said finally. "I don't think about it." Amanda felt her throat tighten. "You don't think about whether you're happy?" "Not really." "Why not?" Eli shrugged. "It doesn't change anything." Amanda didn't know what to say to that. She wanted to argue, to tell him that of course it mattered, that happiness was important, that she wanted him to be happy. But something in the way he said it made her stop. It doesn't change anything. Like happiness was just a variable. Something that existed or didn't, but had no bearing on the outcome. Eli picked his fork back up and resumed eating. Amanda stared at her plate. She wasn't hungry anymore. Later that night, after Eli had gone to bed, Amanda sat on the couch in the living room with her laptop. She wasn't working. She was just sitting there, thinking. She pulled up her browser and typed something into the search bar, signs your child is struggling emotionally. She scrolled through the results. Depression, anxiety, trauma, withdrawal, all the usual things. But none of it fit. Eli wasn't sad. He wasn't anxious. He wasn't acting out. He was just blank. She closed the laptop. Upstairs, she could hear the faint sound of Eli moving around in his room. She thought about going up there, knocking on his door, trying one more time to have a real conversation. But she didn't. She told herself she'd try again. Tomorrow she'd figure out what was wrong. Tomorrow she'd find the right words. But tomorrow would come and go. And then another tomorrow, and another. And with each passing day, the distance between them would grow just a little bit wider. Because Amanda Keller didn't know it yet. But the question she'd asked at dinner, "Are you happy?" wasn't the question she should have been asking. The real question was simpler and more terrifying. "What are you waiting for, Eli?" She wouldn't get the answer until it was far too late. Detective James Harris had been a homicide investigator for 19 years. He'd worked gang shootings in East Brooklyn, domestic violence cases that ended in blood on kitchen floors, drug deals gone wrong, bodies found in dumpsters, rivers, basements. He'd seen what people were capable of when pushed to their limits. And he'd learned early on that the worst Crime scenes weren't always the ones with the most blood. Sometimes the worst ones were the quiet ones. March 15th, the day after Amanda Keller died. Harris stood in the doorway of Amanda's bedroom on Maple Ridge Drive, hands in the pockets of his gray suit jacket, watching the forensic team work. They moved efficiently, methodically. Photographs, measurements, evidence bags. The sterile choreography of death investigation. The bedroom was small, queen-sized bed against the far wall, nightstand with a lamp and a framed photo of Amanda and Eli from years ago, maybe when he was 7 or 8. Both of them smiling. A bookshelf filled with paperbacks and translation dictionaries. Curtains drawn. Amanda's body had already been removed. The medical examiner had taken her 3 hours ago. But Harris could still see where she'd been. The slight impression in the mattress. The way the pillows were arranged. The empty pill bottle on the nightstand. Zolpidem. Prescription sleeping pills. The bottle had contained 30 tablets when it was filled 2 weeks ago. Now it was empty. "Textbook case," said Officer Mitchell, a young patrol cop who'd been first on scene. He stood in the hallway, filling out paperwork on a clipboard. Single mother. History of depression. No signs of forced entry. No struggle. Suicide note on the kitchen counter. Harris didn't respond. He was still looking at the room. "Detective?" Mitchell tried again. "I said it looks pretty straightforward." "I heard." "You." Harris stepped into the room carefully, even though the forensic team had already processed most of it. He moved to the nightstand, crouched down, studied the pill bottle without touching it. 30 pills. That would do it, especially combined with the alcohol the ME found in her preliminary exam. A bottle of wine, mostly empty, had been found in the kitchen sink. He stood, looked around the room again. Everything about this scene said suicide, but something bothered him. He couldn't name it yet. It was just a feeling. An itch at the back of his mind. The kind of thing you develop after 19 years of looking at dead bodies and asking why. "Where's the kid?" Harris asked. "Eli." Mitchell checked his notes. "Staying with his aunt, Linda Harmon. She lives about 20 minutes from here. We contacted her this morning. She came and picked him up." "Who found the body?" "The kid. He called 911 at 10:23 a.m. Said he woke up and his mom wasn't answering when he knocked on her door. He tried the handle. It was locked from the inside." Harris frowned. "Locked from the inside?" "Yeah." He said he got scared and called 911. Paramedics had to break the door down to get in. That fit the suicide narrative. Lock yourself in. Make sure no one interrupts, take the pills, go to sleep, except. "When did she die?" Harris asked. A woman in a white forensic suit looked up from where she was dusting the doorframe. Her name was Dr. Patel. She'd worked with Harris on at least a dozen cases. "Preliminary estimate puts time of death between 2:00 and 4:00 a.m., she said. "We'll know more after the full autopsy, but based on body temperature and lividity, that's the window." Harris nodded slowly. "So she died in the middle of the night. Kid wakes up the next morning, finds her door locked. Calls 911. "Right," Mitchell said. "Poor kid. Can you imagine?" Harris could. He'd seen it before. Kids who found parents after an overdose, after a suicide. The trauma stayed with them forever. But something still didn't sit right. He walked out of the bedroom and down the hallway. Eli's room was at the end of the hall. The door was open. Harris stepped inside. It was neat, almost unnaturally so. Bed made with military precision. Desk organized. Laptop closed. Pencils in a cup. Textbooks stacked by size. A bookshelf with novels arranged alphabetically. Posters on the wall. A periodic table. A map of the solar system. A movie poster for Inception. No clothes on the floor. No clutter. No mess. Harris had a daughter. She was 16. Her room looked like a bomb had gone off in a clothing store. This room looked like it belonged to an adult. He walked to the desk, noticed a tablet sitting. On the corner, screen dark. He didn't touch it. Forensics would bag it later, but he made a mental note. Then he saw something else. On the wall beside the desk at eye level there was a small hole, barely noticeable, maybe a quarter-inch in diameter, like something had been mounted there and removed. Harris leaned closer, looked at the hole, then looked at the angle. It faced the door, and beyond the door, down the hallway, toward Amanda's bedroom. He stepped back into the hallway, paced the distance, 10 steps from Eli's door to Amanda's. Close enough to hear, close enough to know. Harris returned to Eli's room, stood there for a moment thinking. Kid wakes up in the morning. Mom's door is locked. He calls 911. But if she died between 2 and 4 a.m., what was happening in this house during those hours? Harris pulled out his phone and dialed a number. It rang twice before a voice answered. Tech Division, this is Marcus. Marcus, it's Harris. I need you to pull phone records for a residence rush job. Sure. What's the address? Harris gave him the address on Maple Ridge Drive. I need landline and cell records for the past 72 hours, incoming and outgoing. And I need them today. I'll see what I can do. Thanks. Harris ended the call and stood in the hallway, looking between the 2-bedroom doors. What am I missing? 4 hours later, Harris sat at his desk in the precinct, a styrofoam cup of terrible coffee cooling in his hand. His computer screen glowed in the dim light of the bullpen. Most of the other detectives had gone home for the day. It was past 7:08 p.m. His email chimed. Phone records from Marcus. Harris opened the attachment, scanned through the data. Amanda's cell phone showed normal activity, texts to her sister, a few work-related calls. Nothing unusual in the days leading up to her death. The last outgoing call from her cell was at 9:47 p.m. on March 14th. A call to her sister, Linda. It lasted 6 minutes. Harris made a note to follow up on that. Then he scrolled to the landline records. Most houses didn't have landlines anymore, but Amanda's did. An old habit, probably, or maybe she kept it for work. Harris scanned the list of calls. Incoming calls from telemarketers, a couple of outgoing calls to doctor's offices, the pharmacy, the school. Then he saw it. March 15th, 03:12 a.m., outgoing call. Duration, 11 seconds. Harris sat up straighter, set his coffee down, clicked on the call detail, the number that was dialed, 911. Harris stared at the screen. Someone called 911 from Amanda's landline at 03:12 in the morning. The call lasted 11 seconds. And according to the 911 dispatch log, which Harris pulled up in another window, no call was received at that time. He cross-referenced the dispatch records. The only 911 call from that address was at 10:23 a.m., when Eli called to report finding his mother. So what was the 03:12 call? Harris picked up his desk phone, dialed 911 dispatch directly. Dispatch, this is Martinez. Hey, it's Detective Harris, homicide. I need to check on a possible dropped call. March 15th, 03:12 a.m. from a landline on Maple Ridge Drive. He heard typing on the other end. Hold on. Okay, yeah, I see it in the system. Call came in at 03:12:06. Duration 11 seconds. No voice contact. Line went dead. We logged it as an accidental dial. Did you try calling back? Protocol is to call back on dropped 911 calls, but more typing. Looks like the callback went to voicemail. Landline voicemail, automated message, no one picked up. Harris felt that itch. Again, stronger now. Thanks. He hung up, sat back in his chair, stared at the timeline. Amanda Keller died between 2 and 4 a.m. The ME was confident about that window. At 03:12 a.m., someone called 911 from the landline in the house. The call lasted 11 seconds, no words exchanged. Line went dead. 8 hours later, Eli called 911 from his cell phone. Said he just woke up, said he found his mom's door locked. Harris opened a new document on his computer, started typing. Questions. 1. Who made the 03:12 call? 2. Why call 911 and hang up? 3. If Amanda made the call, why was she calling? Was she for help? Did she change her mind? 4. If Eli made the call, why didn't he mention it? 5. Why wait 8 hours to call again? Harris printed the document, stared at it, then he picked up his phone again, called the number for Linda Harmon, Amanda's sister. Hello? Ms. Harmon, this is Detective Harris. I'm investigating your sister's death. Is this a good time? A pause. Then, yes, of course, anything you need. I need to speak with Eli. Would it be possible for me to come by tomorrow? Another pause. Longer this time. He's been very quiet since it happened. He hasn't really said much. I understand. This won't take long. I just have a few questions. What kind of questions? Harris chose his words carefully. Just routine things. About what happened that morning. It's standard procedure. He could hear Linda breathing on the other end of the line. Okay, she said. Finally, you can come by tomorrow afternoon around 2? That works, thank you. Harris ended the call. He looked at the phone records again. At that 11-second call at 03:12 a.m. Why call and hang up? Why wait 8 hours? And why lock the door from the inside? On paper, this case was simple. Amanda Keller, depressed single mother, took her own life. Her son found her the next morning. Tragic, but not complicated. But Harris had learned something in 19 years of investigating death. The simple cases were almost never simple. There was always something underneath. Some detail that didn't fit. Some question no one thought to ask. And in this case, the question was sitting right there in the phone records. Harris circled the timestamp with a red pen. 03:12 a.m., 11 seconds. Who were you calling? And why didn't you say anything? Westfield Middle School sat on a quiet street, 3 miles from Maple Ridge Drive. It was the kind of school that appeared in real estate listings as a selling point. Good test scores, active PTA, a gymnasium that doubled as an auditorium for holiday concerts. The building was brick, 2 stories, with a flagpole out front and a hand-painted mural near the entrance that read, Home of the Wildcats in blue and gold letters. Detective Harris arrived at 1:30 p.m. on March 16th, the day after he'd reviewed the phone records. He'd called ahead, spoken with Principal Vance, a woman in her mid-50s who'd run the school for 12 years. She'd sounded shaken on the phone, said the staff was devastated by the news about Amanda Keller, said Eli was such a good kid. Harris heard that phrase a lot in his line of work. Good kid, quiet kid, never caused any trouble. Usually it meant people hadn't been paying attention. Principal Vance met him in the main office. She was a tall woman with graying hair pulled into a tight bun, wearing a navy blazer and sensible shoes. She shook Harris's hand with a firm grip. Detective, thank you for being discreet about this. We haven't told the other students yet, just the staff. I appreciate that, Harris said. I'll try to keep this brief. She led him down a hallway lined with lockers and student artwork. The school day was still in session. Harris could hear the muffled sounds of teachers lecturing, students laughing, a basketball bouncing in the gym. They entered a small conference room, beige walls, a rectangular table with 8 chairs, a window overlooking the parking lot. I've asked 3 of Eli's teachers to speak with you, Vance said, and I've reached out to a few of his classmates, with parental permission, of course. That's perfect, thank you. Vance hesitated in the doorway. Detective, can I ask, do you think Eli is in danger? I mean, should we be concerned about his well-being? Harris considered the question carefully. Right now, I'm just gathering information, trying to understand what Amanda's life was like in the days before she died. Eli's part. That picture. It wasn't really an answer, but Vance seemed to accept it. Of course, I'll send in his homeroom teacher first, Mrs. Chen. She left. Harris sat down, pulled out a small notebook and a pen. A moment later, the door opened. Mrs. Chen looked to be in her early 30s. She wore a cardigan over a floral dress and carried a thermos of tea. Her eyes were red-rimmed, like she'd been crying recently. Detective Harris? Yes, please have a seat. She sat across from him, wrapping both hands around her thermos like she needed something to hold on to. "I still can't believe it," she said quietly. Amanda was such a lovely woman. She came to every parent-teacher conference, always asked how she could help Eli do better. "How long have you taught Eli?" "This is my 2nd year with him. He's in my 8th grade homeroom. I also teach his English class." Harris wrote that down. "What can you tell me about him as a student?" Mrs. Chen took a sip of her tea. Thought about it. "Eli is exceptional. Academically, I mean, straight A student, never misses an assignment. His writing is well above grade level. He reads constantly, classics mostly. Orwell, Kafka, Camus, books. Most adults struggle with. Sounds like a model student." "He is, but—" Harris looked up from his notebook. "But?" Mrs. Chen shifted in her seat. "He's also very isolated. He doesn't have friends. Not that I've seen anyway. During lunch, he sits alone. During group projects, he works alone. If I let him, other kids don't seem to dislike him. They just don't notice him. Does he participate in class? Only when called on. And his answers are always correct, always thorough. But he never volunteers, never raises his hand. It's like he's perfectly content to sit in the back and observe." That word again. Observe. "Has he ever been in trouble?" Harris asked. "Fights, discipline issues, anything like that?" "Never. Not once in 2 years." "Any behavioral concerns, emotional outbursts?" Mrs. Chen shook her head. "That's the thing. I've never seen Eli express any strong emotion. Not joy, not anger, not sadness. He's just even, all the time." Harris underlined something in his notebook. "Have you noticed any changes in him recently, in the past few months?" Mrs. Chen considered this. "Not really. He's always been the same. Consistent, predictable." "What about after his mother died? How did he react when he came back to school?" "He hasn't come back yet. This is only the 2nd day since it happened." Harris nodded. "When you heard the news, were you surprised that Amanda killed herself?" "Yes, completely. She seemed fine at our last conference, engaged, caring. What about Eli? Were you surprised that he was the one who found her?" Mrs. Chen went very still. Her hands tightened around the thermos. "I don't know how to answer that," she said quietly. "Try." She looked down at the table. "It's just, there's something about Eli that I've never been able to put my finger on. He's polite, he's smart, he follows all the rules. But sometimes when I look at him, I feel like I'm looking at someone much older, like he's not really a child. Does that make sense?" It made perfect sense. Harris had felt the same thing looking at the photos of Eli's room. The unnatural neatness, the organization, the control. "Thank you, Mrs. Chen, you've been very helpful." She stood to leave, then paused. "Detective?" "Yes? Do you think Eli's going to be okay?" Harris didn't know how to answer that either. Next came Mr. Brennan, the science teacher. He was in his late 40s, balding, with the tired look of someone who'd been teaching too long. "Eli Keller," he said, settling into the chair. "Top of my class. Could probably teach the course himself. Good with science? Good with everything. Biology, chemistry, physics. He understands concepts that take most kids weeks to grasp. He gets it in minutes. Does he enjoy it?" Brennan paused. "I don't know. He never seems to enjoy anything. He just does it, completes the work, aces the tests. But there's no passion, no curiosity. It's mechanical." "What do you mean by mechanical?" "I mean he approaches learning like a computer, input, process, output. There's no wonder in it. No excitement when he makes a discovery. Most kids light up when something clicks. Eli just moves on to the next problem." Harris wrote, "Emotionally flat, mechanical. Has he ever asked questions outside the curriculum? No, never. Ever stayed after class to talk about something? No. Ever expressed interest in pursuing science in college or as a career? No. He doesn't talk about the future. Come to think of it, he doesn't really talk at all unless you ask him a direct question. Harris looked up. Does that concern you? Brennan shrugged. I teach 150 kids a year. Most of them are loud, disruptive, glued to their phones. Eli's quiet. He does his work. Honestly, he makes my job easier. Harris heard what Brennan wasn't saying. I don't think about him because he doesn't cause problems. Thank you for your time. The third teacher was Ms. Rodriguez, who taught history. She was younger than the others, maybe late 20s. She sat down with a laptop and pulled up Eli's file. I've been thinking about Eli since I heard the news, she said. And there's something I wanted to show you. She turned the laptop so Harris could see the screen. It showed an essay Eli had written for a unit on World War II. We had to write about moral responsibility in wartime, Rodriguez explained. Most kids wrote about soldiers, about following orders versus doing the right thing. Pretty standard stuff. What did Eli write about? Rodriguez scrolled down. He wrote about bystanders, people who witnessed atrocities and did nothing. He argued that inaction is a form of action, that choosing not to intervene is itself a choice, and that sometimes silence is the loudest statement of all. Harris felt a chill run down his spine. When did he write this? 2 months ago. January. 2 months before his mother died. Harris asked to take a photo of the essay. Rodriguez agreed. Did you talk to him about it? Harris asked. I tried. I asked him why he chose that topic. He said it was just what he found interesting, but the way he wrote it, detective, it didn't read like a middle school essay. It read like someone who'd thought about this deeply, philosophically. Harris closed his notebook. Ms. Rodriguez, has Eli ever mentioned his home life? To you? Never. He's completely private. Did you ever meet his mother? Once at a parent-teacher conference. She seemed nice, a little anxious maybe. She asked a lot of questions about whether Eli was socializing with other kids. And was he? No. After the teachers, Harris spoke with 2 students. The first was a girl named Maya Hutchins, 8th grade, same homeroom as Eli. She sat in the chair twisting a bracelet on her wrist, clearly nervous about talking to a police detective. I didn't really know Eli, she said. Nobody did. Did you ever try to talk to him? Once, last year. We had a group project in English. I asked if he wanted to partner up. He said no thank you and worked alone. Was he rude about it? No. He was polite. Super polite, actually. But it was like I wasn't really there. Like he was just going through the motions of a conversation. Did that bother you? Maya thought about it. Not bother, it was just weird. Most kids, you can tell what they're feeling. Happy, sad, annoyed, whatever. With Eli, you couldn't tell anything. He never smiled, never frowned, never got excited or upset. He was just blank. Harris leaned forward. Maya, did you ever see Eli doing anything unusual? Like what? Anything that stood out, anything that seemed strange. Maya hesitated. Well, he recorded stuff. Harris's pen stopped. Recorded? Yeah. He had this tablet. He carried it everywhere. And sometimes I'd see him recording things. Like, he'd be sitting in the cafeteria, and he'd have his tablet propped up just recording people. Did anyone ever ask him why? A few kids asked. He said he liked documenting things. That's the word he used. Documenting. Did he record you? Maybe. I don't know. It was creepy, honestly, but he never got in trouble for it because he wasn't technically breaking any rules. Harris wrote, tablet, records, everything. Did you ever see what he recorded? No. He kept that tablet locked down, password protected. No one ever saw what was on it. One last question, Harris said. How did Eli react to things? If someone bumped into him in the hallway, or if a teacher called on him unexpectedly, how did he respond? Maya thought carefully. The same way he responded to everything. Calm. Controlled. Like nothing could surprise him, or upset him, or make him feel anything at all. The last student was a boy named Tyler Grant, tall, athletic on the basketball team. Eli Keller? Tyler said when Harris asked about him. Dude's like a ghost. What do you mean? I mean, you forget he exists until you see him. He's just there, in the background. Never says anything, never does anything. Did you ever talk to him? Once, I asked to borrow a pencil in math class. He gave me one. Didn't even look at me. Just reached into his bag, pulled out a pencil, and handed it over. Did he ask for it back? No. I tried to return it after class. He said I could keep it. That's it? That's it. That's the only conversation I've ever had with him. Harris was about to thank Tyler and end the interview when the boy added something else. Oh, but there was this one time. Last month, I think. We had a lockdown drill, practice for an active shooter. We all had to hide in the classroom, lights off, door locked. Some kids were freaking out. This girl, Sarah, was crying. The teacher was trying to keep everyone calm. And Eli? He just sat there, didn't move, didn't react. When the drill was over and everyone was talking about how scary it was, Eli just went back to reading his book, like nothing had happened. Tyler shook his head. I remember thinking, what's wrong with this kid? Like, who doesn't get scared during something like that? Harris underlined a single word in his notebook. Nothing. By the time Harris left Westfield Middle School, it was almost 4 p.m. He sat in his car in the parking lot, reading through his notes. Every teacher said the same thing. Excellent student, no problems, completely detached. Every student said the same thing. Quiet, strange, records everything. Harris thought about the tablet Maya mentioned, the one Eli carried everywhere, the one he used to document things. If Eli recorded everything, what did he record on the night of March 14th? Harris pulled out his phone, called the precinct. Forensics, this is Chen. Chen, it's Harris, the Keller case. Did we bag any electronics from the kid's room? He heard papers rustling. Yeah, laptop and a tablet, both sent to digital forensics this morning. I need that tablet analyzed. Priority. I'll put in the request. Thanks. Harris ended the call, stared at the school building. The perfect boy. The boy who never felt anything. The boy who recorded everything. Harris started the car. He needed to see what was on that tablet. Because if Eli Keller documented everything, then somewhere in those files was the truth about what happened at 03:12 a.m. The house on Maple Ridge Drive had been processed 3 times. First sweep, initial response team. Photographs, basic evidence collection, body removal. Second sweep, forensics. Fingerprints, DNA samples, trace evidence. Third sweep, deep search. This was the one Detective Harris requested. The one where they moved furniture, checked floorboards, opened every drawer, examined every corner. This was where you found the things people didn't want found. March 17th, 3 days after Amanda Keller's death. Harris stood in the master bedroom again, watching forensic technician Sarah Vega work. She was 32, former military, with a methodical approach that made her one of the best in the department. She'd found evidence in cases other techs had marked clean. Anything? Harris asked. Vega was on her knees beside Amanda's nightstand, using a small flashlight to examine the underside. Nothing here. Standard furniture. No hidden compartments. She moved to the dresser, pulled out each old drawer, checked the backs, the bottoms. Nothing. Then she moved to the closet. Amanda's clothes hung neatly on the rod, sweaters, blouses, a few dresses. Below, shoes arranged in pairs. Above, a shelf with boxes labeled in neat handwriting. Tax documents 2023, medical records, photos. Vega pulled down each box, opened them, confirmed the contents matched the labels. "Detective," she called out. Harris walked over. "Yeah?" Vega was reaching toward the back corner of the top shelf, where the ceiling slanted down. Her hand disappeared into the shadows. "There's something here, taped to the wall." She pulled out a small object wrapped in layers of paper towels and secured with masking tape. Harris felt his pulse quicken. Vega carefully unwrapped it on top of the dresser. A USB flash drive, black, 32 GB, generic brand you could buy at any pharmacy or office supply store. Bag it, Harris. Zeta, I want to see what's on it. 2 hours later, Harris sat in the precinct's digital forensics lab, a windowless room filled with computers, external hard drives, and evidence lockers. The tech analyst, a guy named Kevin Park, had the USB drive connected to an isolated system. No internet connection. Nothing that could be compromised or traced. It's not encrypted, Park said, typing rapidly. Whoever hid this wasn't trying to protect it digitally. They were just trying to keep it physically hidden. What's on it? Park clicked through folders. Audio files. Looks like 47 total. All recorded on a smartphone. Transferred to the drive, probably as backup. Can you play them? Yeah. Give me a second. Park opened the first file, checked the timestamp. This one's from September 23rd, about 6 months ago. He hit play. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Amanda Keller's voice, barely above a whisper. I don't know if I'm being paranoid. I don't know if this is normal. But I need to document this. I need to remember, in case I start doubting myself. A pause. A shaky breath. It's 11:47 p.m. Eli went to bed an hour ago. I thought he was asleep, but I just walked past his room and his light was on. I knocked. No answer. I opened the door. He was sitting at his desk, just sitting there, staring at his wall. Not reading, not on his computer, just staring. I asked if he was okay. He turned and looked at me, and he said, his exact words, I'm fine, I was just thinking. I asked what he was thinking about. He said nothing important. Then he smiled, but it wasn't a real smile. It was like he was copying what a smile should look like he'd seen people smile and was just imitating it. I told him to get some sleep. He said okay. And the whole time he just kept looking at me with that expression, like he was studying me, like I was something interesting happening in front of him. The recording ended. Harris stared at the computer screen. Play the next one. Park clicked. Another file. October. Dury, Amanda's voice again. He hasn't cried in over a year. I was thinking about this today, trying to remember the last time I saw Eli cry, really cry, and I can't. It's been at least a year, maybe longer. When he was little, he cried like any kid, when he fell, when he was scared, when he was frustrated. But somewhere around age 11 or 12, it just stopped. Last week he tripped on the stairs, fell hard. I heard the impact from the kitchen. I ran over expecting him to be hurt, but he just stood up, brushed himself off, and kept walking. I asked if he was okay. He said yes, no. Tears, no reaction. Who doesn't react to pain? A long silence on the recording then. Sometimes I look at him and I feel like I'm living with a stranger. Harris felt a cold weight settle in his chest. How many of these are there? 47, Park said. You want me to keep playing? Yes. October 28th. I found something today. I was cleaning Eli's room. He usually doesn't let me, says he'll do it himself. But I insisted. Under his bed, I found a notebook. I know I shouldn't have read it, but I did. It was full of observations. That's the only word for it. Observations about me. Things like, Mom looked tired today. She rubbed her temples 3 times during dinner. She's stressed about money again. Or, Mom asked if I was happy. 4th time this month. She's trying to figure something out but doesn't know what. He writes about me like I'm a subject, like he's a scientist studying an animal. I put the notebook back. I didn't mention it to him. But now I can't stop thinking about it. What else is he documenting? November 15th. He doesn't eat when he's not hungry. I know that sounds stupid, but hear me out. Most kids, if you put food in front of them, they eat it. Not because they're hungry, but because it's there. Because it tastes good. Because eating is social. Eli doesn't do that. If he's not hungry, he won't eat. Even his favorite foods, even dessert. He'll just say, no thank you, I'm not hungry, and that's it. It's like he has Complete control over his impulses, like he can just turn off desire. That's not normal for a 13-year-old, is it? December 3rd. I tried to hug him today. He was leaving for school. I told him I loved him. He said he loved me too, but it was automatic, robotic. So I hugged him, and he just stood there, arms at his sides, waiting for it to be over. When I let go, he picked up his backpack and left. Didn't say anything. Didn't ask why I hugged him. I sat on the couch and cried for 20 minutes. What's wrong with my son? Harris closed his eyes, opened them. Keep going. December 29th. We watched a movie tonight, a drama about a family dealing with cancer. The mother dies at the end. It's supposed to be heartbreaking. I was crying. I couldn't help it. It reminded me of when my own mother died. I looked over at Eli. He was watching the screen. His face was completely blank. When the credits rolled, he said, "That was well made." That's it. That was his reaction to a movie about a mother dying. I asked him if it made him sad. He said, "It's just a movie." I said, "But doesn't it make you think about real things, real loss?" He looked at me and said, "Thinking about it doesn't change it." I didn't know what to say to that. January 11th. I'm scared. I don't know how else to say it. I'm scared of my own son. Not because he's violent. He's never hurt anyone, never threatened anyone. But there's something wrong, something missing. Today at breakfast, I asked him what he wanted to do when he grew up. He said he hadn't decided. I asked if there was anything he was passionate about, anything he really cared about. He thought about it, really thought about it. Then he said, "I don't think I have passions, I have interests, but I don't feel strongly about anything." 13 years old, and he's already figured out he doesn't feel strongly about anything. What kind of person doesn't feel strongly about anything? February 2nd. I made an appointment with a therapist. I haven't told Eli yet. I'm going to tell him it's just a checkup, that all kids his age should talk to someone. The therapist's name is Dr. Melissa Garner. She specializes in adolescent psychology. I spoke with her on the phone. I tried to explain what's happening, the emotional detachment, the constant observation, the lack of humanity. She said it could be a lot of things. Autism spectrum, attachment disorder, depression presenting atypically. But she also said something that stuck with me. She said, "Sometimes kids learn to suppress emotion as a survival mechanism. If he grew up in an environment where emotions weren't safe, he might have learned to turn them off." And I thought about Derek, about how he was before he left, cold, controlling, always watching, always judging. Did Eli learn this from his father? Or is this something else? February 19th. Eli refused to go to therapy. I told him about the appointment. He asked why. I said I thought it would be good for him to talk to someone. He asked if I thought something was wrong with him. I didn't know how to answer that honestly without hurting him. So I said no. I just wanted to make sure he was doing okay. He looked at me for a long time. Then he said, "I don't want to go." I said it wasn't optional. He said, "You can make me sit in a room with a therapist, but you can't make me talk." He was right. I canceled the appointment. March 1st. I think he knows I'm recording these. I've been hiding the USB drive in my closet. I thought I was being careful. But today when I came home from the store, I got this feeling, like something had been moved. I checked the closet. The USB drive was still there, in the same spot, wrapped the same way. But the tape was different, slightly different, like it had been peeled back and restuck. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But if he found these recordings, if he listened to them, what would he think? Would he even care? March 10th. 4 days ago, I woke up at 3 a.m. I don't know why, just a feeling, like someone was watching me. I got out of bed and opened my door. The hallway was dark, but I could see Eli's door. It was open, just a crack. I walked to his room and looked inside. He was in bed, eyes closed. But I had this overwhelming feeling that he wasn't really asleep, that he was just pretending. I stood there for a full minute watching him, waiting for him to move, waiting for proof. He didn't move. I went back to bed, but I couldn't sleep. I keep thinking about what my sister Linda said last week. She said, kids go through phases, he'll grow out of it. But what if this isn't a phase? What if this is who he is? March 13th. One day, before Amanda died. Amanda's voice was different in this recording. Shaky, exhausted, almost defeated. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I love my son, I do, but I don't know him. I don't understand him. And I don't think he loves me. Not really. Love requires feeling something, and Eli doesn't feel anything. Today I asked him if he'd miss me if I was gone. It was a stupid question. I don't know why I asked it. He said, "Where would you go?" I said, "I mean if I died." He looked at me, that same blank expression, and he said, "Everyone dies. Missing someone doesn't bring them back." That's what my 13-year-old son said to me. A long silence, then crying, quiet, broken crying. I can't do this anymore. I can't live with someone who looks at me like I'm an experiment. I just want to sleep. I just want all of this to stop. The recording ended. Harris sat in silence. Park said nothing. The last file was dated March 14th, the day Amanda died. Harris's hand was shaking slightly when he pointed at the screen. "Play it." Park clicked. Silence. Breathing. Then Amanda's voice, barely a whisper. "It's 1:47 a.m. I can't sleep. I took 2 pills an hour. Ego. They're not working. Eli's awake. I can hear him moving around upstairs. He's always awake. I keep thinking about what my therapist said, the one I saw by myself without telling Eli. She said I need to protect my own mental health, that I can't fix Eli if I'm broken. But I don't know how to not be broken when I'm living with someone who doesn't see me as human. A pause. More breathing. The pills are right here, in my drawer. 30 of them left. I keep thinking how easy it would be, how quiet, how peaceful. Just go to sleep and not wake up. Another pause. Longer this time. But I can't, because what would happen to Eli? God help me. Even now I'm worried about him. The boy who doesn't worry about anyone. The recording ended. There were no more files. Harris leaned back in his chair, stared at the ceiling. "Jesus Christ," Park said quietly. Harris didn't respond. He was thinking about the timeline. Amanda recorded that last file at 1:47 a.m. She died sometime between 2 and 4 a.m. At 3:12 a.m., someone called 911 from the landline and hung up after 11 seconds. Harris looked at Park. "I need that tablet. The one from Eli's room. How long until it's analyzed? Should be done by tomorrow morning. I need it tonight. Detective, the backlog." "Tonight," Harris said. "This isn't a suicide. Not anymore." Park stared at him. "What do you think it is?" Harris stood, grabbed his jacket. "I think Amanda Keller knew her son was dangerous. I think she documented it because she was afraid. And I think on March 14th she finally decided she couldn't live with him anymore. You think the kid killed her? I don't know. But I think he was awake. I think he knew what she was planning. And I think he made a choice." Harris headed for the door, stopped, turned back. "Get me that tablet, Kevin, because whatever Eli recorded that night, that's the answer." The juvenile interview room at the precinct was different from the standard interrogation rooms. No metal table bolted to the floor, no harsh fluorescent lights, no two-way mirror. That everyone pretended wasn't there. Instead, there was a round wooden table, comfortable chairs with cushioned seats, soft lighting from lamps instead of overhead fixtures, posters on the walls showing inspirational quotes and nature scenes, a box of tissues on the table, a small water cooler in the corner. The room was designed to feel safe, non-threatening, a place where children could talk without feeling like suspects. But Detective Harris knew the truth. It was still an interrogation room, just dressed up differently. March 18th, 4 days after Amanda Keller's death. Harris sat at the table reviewing his notes. Beside him sat Dr. Rachel Foley, a forensic psychologist who specialized in juvenile cases. She was 43, with 15 years of experience evaluating children involved in criminal investigations. She wore a gray cardigan and minimal jewelry. Her presence was meant to make the interview feel less intimidating. Across the table sat 2 empty chairs. "Remember," Dr. Foley said quietly, "he's 13. Legally, we need his guardian's consent for any questioning. His aunt will be in the room." "I know," Harris said. "I'm not trying to trick him. I just want to understand what happened that night. And if he doesn't want to talk, then he doesn't talk. But in my experience, Dr. Foley, kids like Eli want to talk. They want to show how smart they are." Dr. Foley gave him a skeptical look. "Kids like Eli?" Harris didn't answer. He was thinking about Amanda's recordings, about the boy who documented everything, who felt nothing, who watched his mother spiral and did nothing to stop it. The door opened. Linda Harmon entered first, Amanda's older sister. She looked exhausted, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore jeans and a worn sweater. Her hands were shaking slightly. Behind her came Eli. Harris had seen photos of Eli, school pictures, images from Amanda's phone, but seeing him in person was different. He was small, maybe 5 feet tall, thin, almost frail-looking. He wore a plain blue t-shirt and khaki pants that looked freshly laundered. His dark hair was neatly combed. His wire-rimmed glasses were spotless, but it was his face that struck Harris. Calm, completely, utterly calm. No fear, no anxiety, no grief. Just a neutral, observant expression, like someone attending a meeting that didn't particularly interest them. "Eli, this is Detective Harris and Dr. Foley," Linda said softly, her hand on Eli's shoulder. "They just want to ask you a few questions about your mom. Is that okay?" Eli looked at Harris, then at Dr. Foley, then back at Harris. "Okay," he said. His voice was quiet, even, no tremor. Linda guided him to a chair, sat beside him. She kept one hand on the table, close to Eli, like she needed to maintain physical contact to reassure herself he was really there. Dr. Foley smiled gently. "Eli, I know this is hard. We're very sorry about your mother. We just need to understand what happened that morning. There's no right or wrong answers. We just want to hear from you. Does that make sense?" "Yes," Eli said. "Are you comfortable? Do you need water or anything?" "No, thank you." Dr. Foley glanced at Harris. "Your turn." Harris leaned forward slightly. Kept. His voice soft, conversational. "Eli, can you walk me through the morning of March 15th? When you woke up, what happened?" Eli didn't hesitate. "I woke up at 9:47 a.m. I know because I looked at my clock. Usually I wake up earlier, but I didn't sleep well the night before." "Why didn't you sleep?" "Well, I kept thinking about a book I was reading. I wanted to know how it ended." Harris made a note. "What book?" "The Stranger" by Albert Camus. Of course. Harris had read it in college. A novel about a man who feels nothing, who commits murder and shows no remorse, who is executed not for the crime itself, but for his inability to pretend he felt emotions he didn't have. "So you woke up at 9:47, Harris continued. "What did you do next?" "I got dressed. Then I went to the bathroom. Then I went downstairs to eat breakfast." "Did you see your mother?" "No, her bedroom door was closed." "Did that seem unusual?" Eli thought about it. "A little. Usually she's awake before me. She works early in the morning." "What did you do?" "I made toast. I ate it. I washed my plate. And then?" "Then I went upstairs to check on her. I knocked on her door. She didn't answer." "How many times did you knock?" "3 times." Did you call out to her? Yes, I said, Mom, but she didn't respond. What did you think was happening? For the first time, Eli paused. Not like he was upset, more like he was choosing his words carefully. I thought maybe she was sleeping, or maybe she had headphones in and couldn't hear me. So what did you do? I tried the door handle, it was locked. Was that unusual? Yes. She never locked her door. What did you think when you found it locked? Another pause. I thought something might be wrong. Wrong how? I don't know. Just wrong. Harris watched. Eli's face. No change in expression, no tightening around the eyes, no quickened breathing, nothing. So you thought something was wrong, Harris said. What did you do next? I called 911. From your cell phone? Yes. Why didn't you try to open the door, break it down, get help from the neighbor? Eli looked at Harris directly. I'm 13, I can't break down a door, and I didn't want to waste time going to a neighbor's house. Calling 911 seemed faster. It was a logical answer, almost too logical. Walk me through the 911 call, Harris said. What did you say? I told them my name. I gave them my address. I said I couldn't wake my mother up and her door was locked and I thought something was wrong. Were you scared? Yes. What were you scared of? That she was hurt. Did you think she might be dead? Eli didn't flinch. I didn't know, but I thought it was possible. Linda made a small sound beside him, a half sob she tried to suppress. She squeezed Eli's shoulder. He didn't react to the touch. Dr. Foley leaned in. Eli, that must have been very frightening. Finding your mom's door locked, not being able to get to her. How did that make you feel? Scared, Eli said, and worried. Can you describe those feelings? What did they feel like in your body? Eli tilted his head slightly. My heart was beating faster. My hands felt cold. Did you cry? No. Did you want to cry? Eli considered this. No, I don't think so. Dr. Foley wrote something down. Harris noticed her underline it twice. Harris leaned back in his chair, changed direction. Eli, let's talk about the night before. March 14th. Do you remember that night? Yes. What do you remember? I did my homework. I ate dinner with my mom. Then I went to my room and read. What did you and your mom talk about at dinner? Normal things, how school was, what she was working on. How did she seem? Tired. Just tired? Yes. Did she seem upset, sad, anxious? Eli thought about it. Maybe a little sad. But she was often a little sad. Harris felt something tighten in his chest. Did you ask her why she was sad? No. Why not? Because she would have said she was fine. That's what she always said. Did you believe her when she said that? Eli looked at Harris with those calm, unblinking eyes. No. Linda put a hand over her mouth, tears streaming down her face now. Harris kept his voice steady. You knew your mom wasn't fine. Yes. But you didn't push her on it. No. Why not? Because pushing doesn't help. If someone doesn't want to talk, they won't talk. Harris made a note, drew a star next to it. What time did you go to bed? Around, 10:30. Did you go to sleep right away? No, I read for a while. What time did you fall asleep? I'm not sure. Maybe midnight. And you slept through the night? For the first time, something flickered across Eli's face. Just for a fraction of a second. Then it was gone. Yes, he said. Harris caught it, that micro-hesitation. He leaned forward. You're sure you didn't wake up at all? I might have woken up briefly, I'm not sure. If you woke up? What woke you? I don't remember. Maybe a dream. Or maybe I had to use the bathroom. Did you get up? I don't think so. You don't think so, or you didn't? Eli met Harris's eyes. I didn't. Harris pulled out a sheet of paper, phone records, slid it across the table. Eli, at 3:12 a.m. on March 15th, someone called 911 from your landline. The call lasted 11 seconds. Do you know anything about that? Eli looked at the paper. Read. His expression didn't change. No, he said. You don't remember making that call? I didn't make that call. Then who did? I don't know. Maybe my mom. Why would your mom call 911 and hang up? I don't know. If she called 911, she must have needed help. Why wouldn't she stay on the high line? I don't know. Harris studied Eli's face, searching for something, anything, a crack in the composure, a sign of emotion. Nothing. Eli, Harris said quietly, were you awake at 3:12 a.m.? A pause, barely noticeable. Then, I don't think so. But you said you might have woken up. I might have, but I don't remember. If you were awake, would you have heard something? Your mom moving around, a phone ringing? Maybe. The house is small. But you don't remember hearing anything. No. Dr. Foley interjected gently. Eli, it's okay if you don't remember everything. Sometimes when we're scared or confused, our memories get fuzzy. No one's blaming you for anything. Eli turned to look at her. I'm not scared or confused. I'm just answering the questions. The way he said it sent a chill through the room. Dr. Foley smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, I just want you to know you're safe here. I know, Eli said. Harris tried a different angle. Eli, in the days before your mom died, did she seem different? Did she say anything unusual? She asked me if I'd miss her. Linda gasped. When? Eli glanced at his aunt. A few days before. I don't remember. Exactly. What did you say? Harris asked. I asked where she would go. She said she meant if she died. I said missing someone doesn't bring them back. Linda stood up abruptly. I need a minute. I'm sorry, She left the room quickly, her sobs echoing in the hallway. Harris, Dr. Foley, and Eli sat in silence. Eli didn't turn to watch his aunt leave, didn't express concern, didn't apologize. He just sat there, hands folded on the table, waiting for the next question. Eli, Harris said carefully, do you understand why that answer might have upset your mom? Because it's not comforting. Right, so why did you say it? Because it's true, and she asked a direct question. Do you think your mom wanted comfort or truth? Eli thought about it. Probably comfort, but I'm not good at that. Why not? I don't know what to say. People want you to say things that make them feel better, but the things that make them feel better are usually not true. Harris felt like he was talking to someone much older than 13, someone who'd already figured out how the world worked and decided it wasn't worth pretending otherwise. Did you love your mom, Eli? The question hung in the air. Eli didn't answer immediately. He looked down at his hands, then back at Harris. Yes. How do you know? The question seemed to confuse him. What do you mean? I mean, how do you know you loved her? What did it feel like? Eli's brow furrowed slightly, the first sign of genuine thought. I wanted her to be okay. I didn't want bad things to happen to her. Isn't that love? I'm asking you. Then yes. That's love. Dr. Foley leaned forward. Eli, when you found out your mom was dead, what did you feel? Bad. Can you be more specific? I felt like something was wrong. Like things were going to be different now. Did you feel sad? I think so. You think so? Eli looked frustrated for the first time, a tiny crack in the composure. I don't know how to describe feelings. I know what they're called, but I don't know if what I feel is the same as what other people feel when they use those words. Dr. Foley wrote something down, underlined it, circled it. Harris decided to end the interview. They weren't going to get anything more today. Thank you, Eli. You've been very helpful. We'll let you go now. Eli stood. Can I ask a question? Of course. Do you think my mom killed herself? Harris chose his words carefully. We're still investigating. But you don't think it was suicide. Why do you say that? Because if it was suicide, you wouldn't be asking me these questions. Harris said nothing. Eli pushed his glasses up. If it wasn't suicide, what was it? We don't know yet. Eli nodded, like that was a satisfactory answer. Then he walked to the door, opened it, and left. Harris and Dr. Foley sat in silence for a long moment. Finally, Dr. Foley spoke. Detective, in 15 years of doing this work, I have never seen anything like that. What do you mean? She flipped through her notes. He doesn't present micro-expressions. None. When people talk, even when they're lying or controlling their reactions, there are tiny facial movements, twitches, flickers, unconscious responses. And Eli? Nothing. It's like every response. Duty rehearsed, like he's thought through every possible question and prepared an appropriate answer. Is that possible for a 13-year-old? It shouldn't be, but yes. For someone with his level of intelligence and emotional control, yes. Harris stared at the empty chair where Eli had sat. What's your assessment? Dr. Foley set down her pen. I don't know, that's what scares me. I don't know if he's traumatized and dissociating, or if he's the most controlled person I've ever interviewed. What's the difference? One needs help. The other... She trailed off. The other what? Doctor. Foley looked at Harris. The other knows exactly what he's doing. Detective Harris sat at his desk at 11:00 p.m., the precinct mostly empty except for night shift patrol officers and the dispatcher. In front of him lay a file he'd requested from records, a file that had been buried in the system for 8 years, a file most people had forgotten existed. The tab read, Keller, Derek Allen. Harris opened it. Inside were police reports, witness statements, court documents, and a single photograph clipped to the inside cover. Derek Keller stared back at him from the photo. Driver's license picture. From 2016, age 32 at the time. Dark hair, neatly combed, wire-rimmed glasses, thin face, neutral expression. Harris felt a chill. Derek Keller looked exactly like his son. The first document in the file was a police report dated April 3, 2017. Incident type, domestic disturbance. Complainant, Amanda Keller. Subject, Derek Keller. Location, 1847 Maple Ridge Drive. Harris read through the narrative. Officer responded to residents at 10:47 p.m. following a 911 call from Amanda Keller, F27. Upon arrival, complainant was visibly distressed. She reported that her husband, Derek Keller, M32, had been engaging in psychological abuse for the past 2 years. When asked to clarify, complainant stated that subject would monitor her phone calls and text messages without permission, track her movements throughout the day, question her about every interaction with friends and family, make statements suggesting she was unstable and needed help, tell her that no one would believe her if she reported him, isolate her from her support system by claiming they were bad influences. Complainant stated she called 911 because subject had been standing in their bedroom doorway for over an hour, not speaking, just watching her. When she asked him to leave, he said, "I'm allowed to stand in my own house." Upon interview, subject Derek Keller was calm and cooperative. He denied all allegations. He stated that his wife had been acting irrationally and that he was concerned for her mental health. He claimed he was watching her to ensure she didn't do something dangerous. No physical violence reported, no visible injuries, no criminal charges filed. Complainant declined order of protection. Officer advised complainant of available resources for domestic abuse support. Harris flipped to the next page, another report. 2 weeks later. Amanda had called again. Same complaints. Derek watching her, following her, making her feel like she was being monitored constantly. But again, no physical violence, no threats, nothing that met the legal threshold for arrest. Derek had been interviewed again. He'd presented as calm, reasonable, concerned. He'd said Amanda was suffering from postpartum depression. Their son Eli was 5 years old at the time, and that she was projecting her anxieties onto him. More reports. May 2017, June 2017, July 2017, each time 17. Amanda called. Each time Derek presented as the rational one. Each time, officers documented but couldn't act. Then Harris found the psychological evaluation. In August 2017, Amanda had filed for divorce. As part of the custody hearing for Eli, the court ordered both parents to undergo psychiatric evaluation. Harris read Amanda's evaluation first. The psychologist found her to be anxious, depressed, but fundamentally stable. She showed signs of being in an abusive relationship, but nothing that would impact her ability to parent. Then Derek's evaluation. Harris read it twice. Subject presents with superficial charm and above-average intelligence. During testing, he demonstrated a concerning pattern of emotional detachment and manipulative behavior. When asked about his relationship with his wife, he consistently positioned himself as the victim while subtly undermining her credibility. Subject shows limited capacity for genuine empathy. He can mimic appropriate emotional responses, but lacks authentic emotional connection. His responses to moral dilemma questions suggest a utilitarian approach to relationships. People are valued based on their usefulness rather than inherent worth. Testing indicates possible traits consistent with cluster B personality disorders, specifically narcissistic and antisocial features. However, subject's high level of cognitive control and social awareness allows him to mask these traits in most interactions. Recommendation: subject should not have unsupervised custody of minor child until further evaluation is completed. Subject may pose psychological risk to child's emotional development. Harris leaned back in his chair. The psychologist had essentially identified Derek as a high-functioning manipulator, someone who knew exactly how to present himself, who understood social norms well enough to fake them, who lacked genuine empathy but could perform it when necessary. And then, 3 weeks after that evaluation, Derek Keller had disappeared. No goodbye, no forwarding address, no contact information. The last known sighting was September 12, 2017. He'd been seen by a neighbor loading boxes into his car at 6 a.m. By noon, he was gone. Amanda had filed a missing person report. Police investigated, found nothing suspicious. Derek had cleared out his bank account, canceled his cell phone, left no digital footprint. The case went cold. Eventually, it was assumed Derek had simply left, started over somewhere else. It happened more often than people thought, and Amanda had been relieved. She'd told investigators she didn't want to know where he went. She just wanted him gone. The divorce was finalized in absentia. Amanda was granted full custody of Eli, and for 8 years Derek Keller had been nothing but a ghost, until now. Harris flipped to the last section of the file. Recent additions. Information pulled from the case after Amanda's death. There, paper-clipped together, were printouts of emails. 10 emails total, all sent from the same address, derek.akeller.1984 and protonmail.com, a Proton Mail account, encrypted, anonymous, nearly impossible to trace without a warrant and significant technical resources. All 10 emails had been sent to Amanda's personal email address over the past 6 months. Harris read the first one, dated September 20th, 6 months before Amanda's death. Subject: checking in, Amanda. I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I left without explanation. But I've been thinking about you, about Eli. I've changed. I'm in therapy. I'm working on myself. I'd like to talk. No pressure, just talk. Derek. Amanda never responded. Second email, October 8th. Subject: I miss him, Amanda. I understand your silence, but I need you to know, I miss Eli. I think about him every day. I wonder what kind of person he's becoming. I wonder if he remembers me. I'm not asking for custody. I'm not asking to disrupt your life. I just want to know he's okay, please. Derek. No response. Third email, October 30th. Subject: You can't ignore me forever, Amanda. Ignoring my emails won't make me go away. I have rights as a father. I deserve to know my son. I'm trying to be respectful, but you need to respond. Derek. The tone was shifting, getting more demanding. Fourth email, November 15th. Subject: I see you, Amanda. I know you're reading these, I can tell. You're predictable. You think you can keep Eli from me. But blood matters. He's mine too. We need to talk. Derek Harris felt his jaw tighten. 5th email, December 2nd. Subject: He's like me, Amanda, have you noticed? How much Eli resembles me, not just physically. The way he thinks, the way he processes things. You can't change genetics, Amanda. You can't raise him to be something he's not. He's my son. And he's more like me than you'll ever admit. Derek's 6th email, December 20th. Subject: You're failing him, Amanda. I know things aren't going well. I know Eli is struggling. I know you're trying to fix him, but you can't fix what isn't broken. He doesn't need therapy. He doesn't need medication. He needs to be understood, and you'll never understand him because you're not like us. Derek Harris stopped reading, looked at the date of that email, December 20th. That was around the time Amanda had started recording her audio diaries, around the time she'd started documenting Eli's behavior. Had Derek's emails triggered something in her? Made her start paying attention to patterns she'd been trying to ignore? 7th email, January 10th. Subject: I'm watching Amanda. You look tired. Are you sleeping? Eli looks good, though, growing up fast. He's taller than I expected. You should take better care of yourself. Derek Harris felt his blood run cold. I'm watching. You look tired. Eli looks good. Derek wasn't just sending emails. He was watching the house. Watching them. 8th email, February 1st. Subject: The appointment. Amanda, therapy won't help Eli, telling him there's something wrong with him will only make things worse. He's perfect the way he is. He just needs guidance from someone who understands. Cancel the appointment. Derek Harris checked Amanda's calendar. February the 2nd, the day she'd made an appointment with Dr. Garner for Eli. The appointment? Eli had refused to attend. How did Derek know about the appointment? Was he monitoring her emails, her phone? Or was he physically close enough to overhear conversations? 9th email, February 28th. Subject: You can't run from this, Amanda. I've given you time. I've been patient. But my patience is running out. You need to let me see Eli. You need to stop trying to change him, or I'll make you. Derek. That was a threat. Clear. Unambiguous. Harris checked to see if Amanda had reported it to police. No record of any report. Why hadn't she reported it? Fear? Shame? The belief that police couldn't do anything? 10th email, March 10th, 4 days before Amanda died. Subject: Soon, Amanda. This ends soon, one way or another. You had your chance. Derek. That was the last email. 4 days later, Amanda was dead. Harris immediately called the tech division. Marcus, it's Harris. I need an IP trace on an email account. Proton Mail. I'm sending you the details now. Proton Mail? Marcus sounded skeptical. That's encrypted, man. We'll need a warrant to get anything from the provider, and even then, I know. Start the warrant process. But in the meantime, check local IP addresses, see? If any of these emails were sent from locations in the area, I'll see what I can do. Harris hung up, started writing a list of questions. 1. Where is Derek Keller now? 2. Has he been in contact with Eli? 3. Did Eli know his father was sending emails to Amanda? 4. Was Derek physically watching the house? 5. Did Derek have anything to do with Amanda's death? And the biggest question, 6. How much of Eli's behavior is learned from his father? Harris thought about the psychological evaluation of Derek, the emotional detachment, the manipulation, the superficial charm masking something darker. Then he thought about Eli, the calm demeanor, the lack of emotional response, the constant observation and documentation. Dr. Foley's words echoed in his mind. One needs help. The other knows exactly what he's doing. What if Eli wasn't traumatized? What if he'd been raised by someone who taught him to be exactly what he was? Someone who modeled emotional detachment as strength. Someone who showed him that observation and control were more valuable than feeling. Someone who disappeared right when Eli was 5 years old, right at the age when personality traits begin to solidify. Harris picked up the photo of Derek Keller, studied the face, then he pulled up a recent photo of Eli on his computer. The school picture from this year. Side by side, father and son. The same eyes, the same expression, the same unsettling calm. Harris's phone rang. Marcus from Tech. "Detective, I've got something. 3 of those emails, the ones sent in February, they originated from IP addresses within a 5-mile radius of the Keller residence." Harris sat up straight. He was local. Gets weirder. One of those IPs traces to a public library, 2 miles from their house. I pulled the library's security footage from that date. Want to guess who shows up? Derek Keller. Bingo, he was there. February 15th. Used a public computer for 43 minutes. The timestamp matches one of the emails. Did he leave the library alone? A pause. No. There's a kid with him in the footage. Can't see the face clearly because of the angle. But the height, the build. Detective, it looks like it could be Eli. Harris felt everything click into place. Send me that footage. Now. Already in your email. Harris pulled up the video file, watched it play. Grainy security camera footage from the library entrance. Timestamp, February 15th, 3:47 p.m. A man walks in, dark jacket, baseball cap pulled low, but the build, the height, the walk, it matched Derek's description. And behind him, looking down at a phone, a small figure in a gray hoodie. The kid glances up at the camera for just a fraction of a second. It was Eli. Harris played it again and again. Eli and Derek, together, at the library. This was after Derek disappeared. After 8 years of no contact, they were together. Harris grabbed his jacket. He needed to talk to Eli again. Now. But then his phone buzzed. A text from Linda Harmon, Eli's aunt. Detective Harris. Eli asked me a strange question tonight. He asked if his father is alive. I told him I didn't know. He said okay and went to his room. Should I be worried? Harris stared at the text. Eli knew. He'd always known. Derek hadn't been a ghost. He'd been present in the shadows, in the emails, in secret meetings at libraries. And Eli had known the entire time, which meant Eli had been lying about everything. Harris typed back, "Don't let him leave the house. I'm on my way." He grabbed his car keys and ran. Because if Derek and Eli had been in contact, if Derek had been coaching his son, teaching him, molding him, then Amanda hadn't just been living with one person who didn't feel. She'd been living with one person who didn't feel and being watched by another. Harris didn't make it to Linda Harmon's house that night. Halfway there, his phone rang. Kevin Park from Digital Forensics. "Detective, you need to see this, the tablet. We finished the analysis." Harris pulled over. "What's on it?" I don't even know how to describe it. You need to come see this yourself." "I'm in the middle of..." "Detective." Park's voice was strained. "You need to see this. Now." Something in his tone made Harris change direction. 20 minutes later, he walked into the forensics lab. Park was sitting at his workstation, the glow of multiple monitors illuminating his face. He looked pale. "Show me," Harris said. Park turned one of the Navicho monitors toward him. The tablet belonged to Eli. It's a Samsung Galaxy Tab, 3 years old, 128 gigabyte storage, and it's almost completely full. Full of what? Videos. 743 video files, all recorded by the front-facing camera, all of them showing Eli himself. Harris felt a knot form in his stomach. "Show me one." Park clicked on a random file. The video player opened. The image showed Eli sitting at his desk. The camera angle suggested the tablet was propped up across the room. Eli was reading a book, not looking at the camera, just reading. The timestamp showed it, was recorded at 8:47 p.m. on November 3rd. Harris watched for 30 seconds. Nothing happened. Eli just read. "How long is this video?" Harris asked. 42 minutes. He recorded himself reading for 42 minutes? Yeah, and that's not unusual. Some of these videos are hours long. He's just sitting there, doing homework, reading, sometimes staring at the wall, but always recording. Park pulled up a spreadsheet. I've been cataloging them. Here's the breakdown by category. Harris scanned the list. Homework study sessions, 247 videos. Reading, 189 videos. Sleeping, 112 videos. Eating alone in room, 68 videos. Staring, thinking, 53 videos. Conversations with mother, 41 videos. Other, 33 videos. He recorded himself sleeping, Harris said. Lots of people do that. Sleep tracking, checking for sleep apnea, stuff like that. But for 3 years? Park shrugged. The kids. Documenting everything. That's what his teacher said, right? Harris pointed at the screen. What about the conversations with his mother? Show me one of those. Park hesitated. That's where it gets disturbing. He pulled up a video dated January 15th. The angle showed Eli's bedroom door, slightly ajar. Voices came from the hallway. Amanda and Eli talking, Amanda's voice. Eli, honey, can we talk? Eli's voice. About what? About how you're doing. I feel like we don't really talk anymore. We're talking now. I mean really talk. About how you're feeling, what you're thinking about. A pause, then Eli. I'm fine. You always say that. Because it's true. Amanda's voice cracked slightly. Eli, I'm worried about you. Why? Because you don't seem... I don't know how to say this. You don't seem happy, or sad, or anything. I'm not unhappy. That's not the same as being happy. Another pause. Longer this time. Eli, do I need to be happy? The video ended. Harris stared at the black screen. He was recording their conversations without her knowledge. All of them, Park said. Every single conversation he had with his mother in the last 6 months is on this tablet. He'd set it up in his room with the door cracked. The audio quality is perfect, like he positioned it specifically to capture hallway conversations. That's not normal. No, it's not. Park pulled up another file. But here's the really disturbing part. Some of these videos have been edited. Edited. How? Sections cut out. Audio removed in places, especially in the last 2 weeks before Amanda's death. Look. Park opened a file dated March 7th. The video showed Eli sitting at his desk, typing on his laptop. The timestamp showed 9:15 p.m. Then the video jumped. The timestamp now showed 9:47 p.m. 32 minutes missing. See that? Clean cut. He edited out a chunk of time. Can you recover what was cut? I'm trying, but he did a decent job. Used video editing software to permanently delete the sections. I might be able to pull fragments from the drive's slack space, but it'll take time. How many videos are edited like this? Park scrolled through his notes. 47 videos in the last month alone. All of them have sections removed. Some just a few minutes, others an hour or more. Harris leaned closer to the screen. What was he hiding? I don't know. But whatever it was, he didn't want anyone to see it. Park opened another file. March 12th, 2 days before Amanda died. The video showed Eli's bedroom, empty. The door was open. The hallway was visible. The timestamp showed 11:23 p.m. Then, a figure appeared in the hallway. Amanda. She was standing outside Eli's. Or just visible in the frame. She looked exhausted. Her hair was messy. She was wearing pajamas. She stood there, not moving. Just standing there, looking into Eli's room. For 5 minutes, she just stood there. Then she turned and walked away. The video continued for another 3 hours, just an empty room, empty hallway, nothing. Why would he keep that? Harris asked. Because he was documenting her behavior, Park said. He was collecting evidence. Evidence of what? Her mental state, her habits. He was building a record. Park pulled up a text document. I also found this, a journal. File. Text entries dating back 2 years. He opened it. Harris read the entries. September 14th, 2023. Mom asked if I was okay. Third time this week. Pattern suggests increasing anxiety. Possible trigger: work stress or financial concerns. Monitor. October 2nd, 2023. Mom watching me during dinner. Count. Glances in 20 minutes. Above baseline. She suspects something but doesn't know what. Need to maintain normal behavior. November 18th, 2023. Found notebook missing from under bed. Mom likely read it. She didn't mention it. Interesting. She's trying to gather information without confronting me. Directly. Defensive behavior. December 5th, 2023. Mom tried to hug me. Physical contact increasing. Possible attempt at emotional connection or reassurance seeking. Did not reciprocate. She cried afterward. January 8th, 2024. Mom mentioned therapy again. Refused. She didn't push. She's losing confidence in her ability to fix me. Good. Harris felt sick. He was treating his mother like a research subject. Yeah, Park said quietly. And it gets worse. He pulled up another file. March 13th. One day before Amanda died. The video showed Eli's room. Empty again. Door open. It was 2:14 a.m. according to the timestamp. Then Amanda appeared in the hallway. She was standing outside Eli's door again. But this time she was crying. Silent crying. Shoulders shaking. She stood there for 7 minutes. Then she walked away. The video continued. At 2:47 a.m., a sound. A door opening. Footsteps in the hallway. The camera angle didn't show who it was, but someone was moving around. Then at 2:51 a.m., the video cut to black, edited. When it resumed, the timestamp showed 3:28 a.m. 37 minutes missing. Those 37 minutes, Harris said. That's when Amanda died. Park nodded. The ME said time of death was between 2 and 4 a.m. This video cuts out right in that window. Can you recover what was deleted? I'm working on it, but detective, even if I can't recover the video, the fact that he edited it out, that's consciousness of guilt. He deleted that section for a reason. Harris straightened. What about March 15th, the morning he called 911? Park clicked through files. There's no video from that morning, at all. The last recording is from the night before, and it ends at 11:47 p.m. Nothing after that. He stopped recording. Or he deleted those files. Completely. Harris paced the small lab. Okay, let's think about this. Eli records everything, obsessively, for 3 years. Then, on the most important night, the night his mother dies, he either stops recording or deletes the footage. Why? Because whatever happened, he didn't want it documented. Or he did document it and he deleted it after. Park pulled up another file. There's one more thing, the other category in my spreadsheet. 33 videos that don't fit the normal pattern. Show me. Park opened one. The video was dark. Hard to see. But it appeared to be shot from outside. Nighttime. The camera was pointed at a house. Harris recognized it immediately. The Keller house, Maple Ridge Drive. When was this taken? Harris asked. Park checked. February 15th, 11:34 p.m. The same day Eli and Derek were at the library together. He was filming his own house from outside. Not him, Park said. Look at the angle. This was shot from across the street behind a tree. And the metadata shows it wasn't taken on the tablet. It was transferred from another device. Whose device? I don't know. But whoever took it sent it to Eli, and Eli kept it. Harris watched. The video. The camera stayed focused on one window, Amanda's bedroom window. The light was on. A silhouette moved past the curtain. The video lasted 4 minutes. Then it ended. There are 33 of these, Park said. All taken from outside the house, all at night, all showing Amanda's window. All transferred to Eli's tablet from an external source. Harris felt his chest tighten. Derek was filming the house and sending the videos to Eli. That's what I think too. Do we have dates on all of them? Park pulled up a timeline. They start in September, right when Derek's emails started. The last one is March 10th, 4 days before Amanda died. Harris looked at the timeline, thought about Derek's emails, thought about the library meeting, thought about everything Amanda had recorded in her audio diaries. She'd been right. Someone was watching her, not just Eli from inside the house, but Derek from outside. Can you trace where these videos came from? Already tried. They were sent through an encrypted messaging app. Signal, end-to-end encrypted. No way to trace the sender without access to the actual device they were sent from. Harris pulled out his phone. Called Linda Harmon. Detective? She answered on the first ring. Is everything okay? Ms. Harmon, I need to ask you something. When was the last time Eli left the house? He hasn't left since he came to stay with me. He's been in his room mostly. Why? Has he made any phone calls? Sent any texts? I don't know. He has his phone. I haven't been monitoring it. I need you to take his phone right now. Don't ask him. Don't tell him I called. Just take it and keep it safe until I get there. Detective, you're scaring me. Please, Ms. Harmon, just do it. Okay, I will. Harris ended the call, turned to Park. Keep working on recovering those deleted sections. I need to know what happened between 2:51 and 3:28 a.m. on March 14th. I'll pull an all-nighter if I have to. Do it. Harris headed for the door, then stopped. Kevin, one more thing. The videos of Amanda standing outside Eli's room, late at night, just standing there. What does that look like to you? Park thought about it. Like she was checking on him, making sure he was okay, or making sure he was really asleep. Why would she need to make sure he was asleep? Because she was afraid of him. Harris nodded slowly. That's what I think too. Harris drove to Linda Harmon's house, his mind racing. The pieces were connecting, but they formed a picture so disturbing he almost didn't want to believe it. Derek hadn't disappeared 8 years ago. He'd been watching, waiting, and at some point in the past 6 months he'd made contact with Eli. They'd met, at the library, maybe other places too, and Derek had been feeding Eli information, sending him videos of Amanda, coaching him, guiding him. But toward what? Harris thought about Amanda's last audio recording. I can't live with someone who looks at me like I'm an experiment. What if that's exactly what she was? An experiment, not just Eli's, but Derek's. A test to see how far they could push her, how much surveillance, how much psychological pressure, how much isolation, until she broke, until she took those pills, until she made the choice they'd been waiting for her to make. And then, Harris's phone rang. Park. Detective, I got something. I recovered a fragment from March 14th, from the deleted section. What is it? Audio, just audio, 34 seconds. It's not great quality, but it's something. Play it, Harris. Heard static. Then a voice, faint, male. Don't touch anything. More static. She has to find her like this. Understand? Static. A second voice, younger, also male. I understand. The audio cut out. Harris pulled over. That second voice. Was it Eli? I think so, but I can't be certain. The audio's too degraded. Who was the first voice? I don't know, but detective? That conversation happened in Eli's room, while Amanda was dying down the hall. Harris gripped the steering wheel. Eli wasn't alone that night. No, he wasn't. Derek was there. I think so, or someone was. Harris started the car again, drove faster, because if Derek had been in that house on March 14th, if he'd been there when Amanda took those pills, if he'd told Eli not to touch anything, then this wasn't suicide, and it wasn't murder. It was something worse. It was two people, a father and son, standing outside a bedroom door, watching, waiting, making sure no one intervened, making sure it happened exactly the way they planned. And then, at 3:12 a.m., someone had picked up the phone, dialed 911, and hung up after 11 seconds. Not a call for help, a test to see if it traced, to see if anyone would respond. And when no one came, they knew they were safe. They'd gotten away with it. Harris pulled into Linda Harmon's driveway. The house was dark except for one window on the second floor. Eli's room. The light was on, and in the window Harris could see a high silhouette, standing perfectly still, watching him arrive. Harris sat in his car for a full minute, staring up at the lit window. The silhouette didn't move, just stood there, a dark shape against the yellow glow of the bedroom light. Watching. Harris got out of the car. The street was quiet. Suburban silence at midnight, porch lights casting long shadows. The occasional dog bark in the distance. He walked to the front door, rang the bell. Linda Harmon answered almost immediately, like she'd been waiting by the door. Her eyes were red and puffy. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Detective," she whispered, "I got his phone like you asked." She held it out, a smartphone in a black case, screen locked. "Did he notice?" "I don't think so. He was in his room. I told him I needed to charge it downstairs because his outlet wasn't working. He just handed it to me." Harris took the phone, bagged it as evidence. "Thank you, I'll need to take this to our tech team." Linda nodded. Then she glanced up the stairs. "Detective, can I ask you something?" "Of course." Is he in trouble? Real trouble?" Harris chose his words carefully. "I'm still investigating, but I need to ask him some more questions." "Tonight?" "Yes." Linda wrapped her arms around herself. "He's different since Amanda died, more quiet than usual. He barely eats, just stays in his room. I tried talking to him, but..." She trailed off. "But what?" "He answers my questions. He's polite, but it's like talking to a stranger, like there's nothing behind his eyes." Harris had seen it too. That empty quality, the performance of humanity without the substance. "Ms. Harmon, I need you to wait downstairs while I talk to Eli. Can you do that?" She nodded, stepped aside. Harris climbed the stairs. The house was old. The steps creaked under his weight. He reached the second floor. 3 doors, 2 closed, 1 open. The open door led to Eli's temporary room. Harris approached slowly, looked inside. Eli sat on the bed, back against the wall, a book in his lap. He looked up when Harris appeared. In the doorway. "Detective Harris," he said calmly. "I thought you might come." Harris stepped into the room. "Why did you think that?" "Because you found something, and you want to ask me about it." "What do you think I found?" Eli closed his book, set it aside. "I don't know, but you look upset. So it must be important." Harris pulled out a chair from the small desk, sat down. They were maybe 6 feet apart, close enough to see every micro-expression. Not that Eli showed any. "Eli, I need to ask you some questions, and I need you to tell me the truth." "I always tell the truth." "Do you?" Eli tilted his head slightly. "Yes, I don't see the point in lying." Harris pulled out his notebook. "On March 14th, the night your mother died, were you alone in the house?" Eli didn't hesitate. "Yes." "You're sure?" "Yes." "No one else was there? No one came to visit?" "No." Harris watched Eli's face. "Nothing. No tension, no tells." "When was the last time you saw your father?" For the first time, Eli paused. Just for a second. Then, "I was 5 years old, before he left." "You haven't seen him since?" "No." "Has he contacted you? Called you? Sent you messages?" "No." "Eli, we have security. Footage from the public library, February 15th. You were there with a man matching your father's description." Eli's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. A calculation happening behind the surface. "I go to the library sometimes," Eli said. "There are a lot of people there. This man was with you. You walked in together." "I don't remember." "You don't remember going to the library 6 weeks ago?" "I go to the library a lot. The days blend together." Harris leaned forward. "Eli, lying to me right now is a very bad idea." "I'm not lying." "Then you're telling me you've..." "Me." Had no contact with your father in 8 years. Yes. Harris pulled out his phone, showed Eli a screenshot from the library footage. The image was grainy but clear enough. Eli and Derek standing together near the entrance. Eli looked at the photo. His face remained perfectly neutral. That could be anyone, he said. It's your father. You can't tell from that picture. We can, and we will. We're running facial recognition. We're pulling more footage. We're going to prove you were with him. Eli said nothing. Harris put the phone away. Why are you protecting him? I'm not protecting anyone. I'm just telling you I don't remember seeing my father. Your mother was getting emails from him. Did you know that? No. He was threatening her, watching the house. Did you know? No. He was sending you videos of your mother from outside the house, late at night. Eli's jaw tightened, just barely, the first real reaction Harris had seen. I don't know what you're talking about, Eli said quietly. We have your tablet, Eli. We've seen everything. The videos you recorded, the journal entries, the deleted files. We know you were documenting your mother's behavior. We know. You were in contact with your father, and we know something happened in your room between 2:51 and 3:28 a.m. on March 14th. Something you deleted. Eli stared at Harris. Silent. Whatever you're hiding, Harris said, we're going to find it. The question is whether you help us now or whether we do it. The hard way. More silence. Then Eli spoke, his voice very quiet. I'd like to talk to a lawyer. Harris felt his chest tighten. That was it. The interview was over. 13 years old or not, once a suspect invoked their right to counsel, questioning had to stop. Okay, Harris said. He stood. We'll arrange that. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Eli, your mother loved you. You know that, right? Eli looked at him with those empty eyes. Yes. She was trying to help you. I know. Then why didn't you help her? Eli didn't answer. Harris left, went downstairs. Linda was sitting on the couch, hands folded in her lap, rocking slightly. Ms. Harmon, I need to be honest with you. Eli is a person of interest in his mother's death. I can't legally hold him right now. He's a minor and we don't have enough for an arrest. But I need you to watch him carefully. Don't let him leave. Don't let him use a computer or phone. And if he tries to contact anyone, you call me immediately. Linda's hand went to her mouth. You think he killed Amanda? I think he knows more than he's telling us. And I think he might be in contact with someone dangerous. Derek. Yes? Linda stood. What do I do? How do I keep him here if he wants to leave? Legally, he's in your custody. He can't leave without your permission. But Ms. Harmon, if you feel unsafe at any point, you call 911. Understand? She nodded, tears streaming down her face. Harris left the house, got in his car, checked his watch. 1:14 a.m. He was exhausted, but there was one more person he needed to talk to tonight. Mrs. Brennan, the neighbor who'd seen Eli at the window at 3 a.m. Harris pulled up Amanda's case file on his phone, found Mrs. Brennan's address. She lived next door to the I.'s. Keller's, 1849 Maple Ridge Drive. He drove there. The house was dark. Harris hesitated. It was after 1 a.m., but this couldn't wait. He rang the doorbell. Lights flickered on inside. A minute later, the door opened a crack. A chain lock held it in place. Yes? An elderly woman's voice, cautious. Mrs. Brennan? I'm Detective Harris. I'm sorry to bother you so late, but I'm investigating Amanda Keller's death. I need to ask you some questions. The door closed. Harris heard the chain being removed. Then it opened fully. Mrs. Brennan looked to be in her 70s, gray hair pulled back in a braid. She wore a bathrobe over pajamas and held a small dog in her arms, a Pomeranian that growled softly at Harris. It's all right, Muffin, she said to the dog. Then to Harris, come in. I don't sleep much these days anyway. Harris followed her into a living room. Everything was neat and tidy. Floral patterns, framed photographs on every surface. the smell of lavender air freshener. They sat. Mrs. Brennan set the dog down. It immediately jumped onto the couch beside her. "You spoke with an officer a few days ago," Harris said. "You told them you saw Eli at his window around 3 a.m. on March 15th. "That's right. Can you tell me exactly what you saw?" Mrs. Brennan settled into her chair. "I have insomnia. Have had it for years. So I'm up at all hours. That night, well, technically morning, I was in my bedroom. Can't sleep, so I was reading. My bedroom window faces the Keller house. Faces Eli's window, actually. What time was this? Around 3 a.m., maybe a few minutes before. I looked up from my book and saw Eli's light was on, which wasn't unusual. That boy kept odd hours." "What do you mean?" "I'd see his light on at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., sometimes 4 a.m. I used to wonder if he slept at all." Harris made a note. "So his light was on, then what?" "I saw him at the window, standing there. Just standing. Not looking out at anything in particular. Just standing." "How long did he stand there?" "At least 15 minutes, maybe longer. I went back to reading, and when I looked up again, he was still there." "Did he seem upset? Agitated?" Mrs. Brennan thought about it. "No, he seemed calm, very calm. That's what struck me as odd." "Why odd?" "Because," she paused, choosing her words, "it was 3 in the morning. Most children would be asleep, or if they were awake, they'd be doing something. Playing on a phone, reading, watching TV. But Eli was just standing there, perfectly still, like he was waiting for something." Harris felt a chill. "Did you see anyone else? Any movement in the house?" "No, just Eli at his window." "Did you see anyone outside? On the street, in the yard?" Mrs. Brennan hesitated. "You know, now that you mention it, I did see something. I didn't think much of it at the time, but—" "What did you see?" "A car, parked down the street. It had been there for a while. I'd noticed it earlier in the evening. Dark sedan. I couldn't tell the make or model, but it was just sitting there, no lights on." "Did you see anyone in the car?" "No, too dark, but it stayed there for hours, from around midnight until maybe 4 a.m. Then it was gone." Harris leaned forward. "Mrs. Brennan, this is very important. Can you remember anything else about that car? Any detail at all?" She closed her eyes, thinking. "It was newer, clean, not a junker, and there was something on the back window, a sticker or decal. I remember seeing it when it drove away because the streetlight hit it." "What kind of sticker?" "I don't know, it was small. Maybe a university sticker, or a company logo. I couldn't make it out." Harris made a note to pull traffic camera footage from the area. If Derek had been sitting in a car outside the house that night, they might be able to identify the vehicle. "Mrs. Brennan, in the weeks before Amanda died, did you notice anything unusual? Any visitors to the house? Any strange behavior?" She nodded slowly. "Amanda seemed stressed, more than usual. I'd see her pacing in the kitchen late at night. Sometimes I'd hear her on the phone. Her window was open sometimes, and sound carries. She'd be talking to someone, upset, crying sometimes." "Could you hear what she was saying?" "Not clearly, but once, maybe 2 weeks before she died, I heard her say something like, 'You can't just come back into our lives like this.' I remember that because she sounded angry. Amanda was usually so gentle. Hearing her angry was unusual." "Did you see who she was talking to?" "No, but after that call, she went outside, just stood in the driveway, looking up and down the street, like she was looking for someone, or making sure someone was gone." "Did you see anyone on the street?" "No, but that's when I started noticing the car. It appeared that same week, different times. Always parked in different spots, but always on this street, always within view of the Keller house." Harris felt the pieces clicking into place. Derek had been stalking Amanda, watching the house, and Amanda had known. That's what the audio recordings were about. She was documenting what was happening because she was afraid. Mrs. Brennan, did you ever see Eli interact with anyone outside the house? Anyone who wasn't his mother? Not often. Eli didn't have friends over, didn't play with other kids. He was always alone. But what? There was one time, about a month ago, I was taking Muffin for a walk. Evening around 7 p.m. I saw Eli at the corner, talking to someone. Who? A man. I didn't get a good look, it was getting dark, but they were talking. The man put his hand on Eli's shoulder, not aggressive. Almost affectionate, like a parent. What did the man look like? Tall, dark hair, that's all I could see. They were under a tree and the lighting was poor. How did Eli react to this man? He didn't pull away, didn't seem scared. They talked for maybe 5 minutes, then Eli walked home, Man got into a car, might have been the same sedan I saw later, and drove away. Harris showed her the photo of Derek from his driver's license. Could this have been the man? Mrs. Brennan squinted at the photo, put on reading glasses, studied it. Maybe, she said. The height is right, the build. But I can't be certain. It was too dark. Harris put the photo away. Mrs. Brennan, why didn't you mention this to the police before? She looked down at her hands. I didn't think it mattered. I thought Amanda had killed herself. I thought it was just a tragedy. I didn't realize. She looked up. Tears in her eyes. Did that man hurt Amanda? I don't know yet, but you've been very helpful. Harris stood to leave. Mrs. Brennan walked him to the door. Detective, she said as he stepped outside. That boy, Eli, there's something wrong with him. Harris turned. What do you mean? I've lived next to them for 5 years. I've watched Eli grow up, and he's never been normal. I don't mean that cruelly. I mean, there's something missing in him. Something that should be there but isn't. Like what? Warmth, joy, sadness. All children feel things intensely. But Eli, it's like watching someone play act at being a child, going through the motions without understanding why. Harris thought about Amanda's recordings, about the psychologist's evaluation of Derek, about Eli standing at his window at 3 a.m., perfectly calm, while his mother lay dying down the hall. Did you ever tell Amanda your concerns? Once, about 6 months ago. I said something casual like, Eli seems very mature for his age. Amanda's face just fell, and she said, I know. Sometimes I worry he's too mature. Then she changed the subject, but I could tell it bothered her. Harris nodded. Thank you. Mrs. Brennan, if you remember anything else, please call me. He handed her his card. As he walked to his car, he heard her call out, Detective? He turned. She was standing in the doorway, the light from inside silhouetting her small frame. Find out what happened to Amanda. She was a good person. She didn't deserve. Mrs. Brennan's voice cracked. She didn't deserve to die alone in that house. I will, Harris said. He got in his car, sat there for a moment, looked at the Keller house, dark now, empty, crime scene tape still across the door. But he could picture it. March 14th. After midnight. Derek sitting in a car down the street, watching. Amanda in her bedroom taking pills one by one. Eli in his room, recording everything. Or maybe not recording. Maybe just standing at his window, waiting. At 3 a.m., Mrs. Brennan sees him there, still waiting. At 3:12 a.m., someone calls. 11, hangs up after 11 seconds. Derek's voice on the recovered audio. Don't touch anything. Eli's voice. I understand. And then, nothing. Just waiting. For 7 more hours. Until it was safe to call again. Until the performance could begin. The shocked son. The tragic discovery. But it wasn't shock. It was a rehearsed response. A son and father working together. One inside the house, one outside. Both watching, both waiting. Letting it happen. Harris started the car. He needed to find Derek Keller. Because this wasn't just about Eli anymore. This was about a father who'd spent 8 years planning something, who'd returned to teach his son, to mold him, to turn him into something cold and calculated. And then, when the moment was right, they'd both watched Amanda die. Not murder, not suicide. Something in between, something the law didn't have a name for. Yet. The interview room at Child Protective Services was designed to be comfortable. Soft blue walls, natural lighting from a large window, a round table instead of the rectangular interrogation tables downtown, plants in the corners, watercolor paintings of landscapes. Everything meant to put children at key. But Detective Harris knew better. This wasn't about comfort. This was about control, about creating an environment where people felt safe enough to tell the truth. Or in Eli's case, an environment where his careful performance might finally slip. March 20th, 6 days after Amanda's death. Rachel Foley sat across from Eli. Harris stood by the window, arms crossed, observing. Eli's public defender, Michael Ortiz, sat beside his client. He'd objected to this session, argued it was improper to question a minor without charging him, but Judge Brenner had ordered the evaluation. Not an interrogation, a psychological assessment. Linda Harmon had been asked to wait outside. She'd looked relieved to leave the room. Eli sat perfectly still. Same pressed clothes, same wire-rimmed glasses, same unreadable expression. His hands were folded on the table. He hadn't touched the bottle of water placed in front of him. Hadn't asked for anything. Dr. Foley smiled warmly. Eli, thank you for meeting with me today. I know this has been a difficult week. Okay, Eli said. I want you to know this isn't an interrogation. I'm here to help you, to make sure you're processing everything. That's happened in a healthy way. Okay, can you tell me how you've been feeling since your mother died? Eli thought about it. Confused. Confused about what? About what happens now, where I'll live, what school I'll attend. Dr. Foley made a note. Those are practical concerns. That's understandable. But what about emotional feelings? Sadness, anger, fear. I feel sad. Can you describe that sadness? It's like something is missing. Like the house is too quiet now. Do you miss your mother? Yes. What do you miss about her? Eli paused. Longer this time. I miss her being there, in the kitchen at dinner, asking me questions. Did those questions bother you? Sometimes. Why? Because I didn't always have good answers. Dr. Foley leaned forward slightly. Eli, I want to show you something. Is that okay? Okay. She pulled out a tablet, turned it toward Eli. On the screen was a photograph. Amanda's bedroom, the empty pill bottle on the nightstand. Eli looked at it. His expression didn't change. This is where your mother died, Dr. Foley said gently. When you see this image, what do you feel? Bad. Can you be more specific? I feel like something went wrong. What went wrong? She shouldn't have died. Why do you think she did? I don't know. Maybe she was unhappy. Dr. Foley swiped to another image, a screenshot of Amanda's audio recording app. The list of files dated over 6 months. Your mother was recording herself, Dr. Foley said. Talking about you, about concerns she had. Did you know she was doing this? Eli stared at the screen. For the first time, something flickered across his face. Not emotion exactly, more like recognition. No, he said quietly. Are you sure? You documented everything, Eli. You recorded conversations. You kept detailed notes. Are you telling me you didn't know your mother was doing the same thing? Ortiz leaned in. Dr. Foley, I don't see how this is relevant to my client's psychological well-being. It's very relevant, Dr. Foley said, not looking away from Eli. Because we're trying to understand what was happening in that house, the dynamic between mother and son. She swiped again. This time a screenshot from one of Eli's journal entries. Mom watching me during dinner. Count, 7 glances in 20 minutes. Above baseline. You were studying your mother, Dr. Foley said. Counting her glances, tracking her behavior. Why? I was just noticing things. Why did you need to notice things? I don't know. I like patterns. Is that all it was? An interest in patterns? Eli didn't answer. Dr. Foley swiped again. Another journal entry. She suspects something but doesn't. Know what? Need to maintain normal behavior. What did she suspect, Eli? I don't know what that means. You wrote it. She suspects something. What was she suspecting? Maybe that I wasn't happy. I don't know. But you wrote, need to maintain normal behavior. That suggests you were performing, pretending to be normal. Why would you need to pretend? I wasn't pretending. Then what did you mean? Eli looked down at his hands. I meant I needed to act the way she wanted me to act. Which was how? Like a normal kid. But you're not a normal kid? Eli looked up, met Dr. Foley's eyes directly. I don't know what normal is. Harris saw it. The first crack. Not in his composure, but in his certainty. For just a moment, Eli looked like what he was, a 13-year-old boy who didn't understand the world he was living in. Dr. Foley softened her voice. Eli, that must be very hard. Not knowing what normal is, feeling like you have to perform all the time. I don't feel like I'm performing. Then what does it feel like? Like I'm translating. Like everyone speaks a language I don't quite understand, so I have to think about what to say, how to react, what expression to make. That sounds exhausting. It is. When did you start feeling this way? Eli thought about it. Really thought about it. I don't remember. It's always been this way. Dr. Foley made several notes. Then she set down her pen, looked at Eli with genuine compassion. Eli, I'm going. To be very direct with you now, is that okay? Okay. We know you were in contact with your father. We know he was sending you messages, videos. We know you met with him at least once, and we know he was outside your house the night your mother died. Ortiz started to object. Dr. Foley, she held up a hand. Let me finish. Eli, I need you to understand something. You're not in trouble for talking to your father. You're a child. He's an adult. If he manipulated you, if he coached you, if he put you in a position where you felt you had to do what he said, that's not your fault. Eli stared at her. But we need to know the truth, Dr. Foley continued. Because right now, it looks like you and your father watched your mother die. And if that's what happened, you need to tell us. You need to tell us what your father told you to do. Silence filled the room. Harris could hear his own heartbeat. Could hear the hum of the air conditioning. Could hear someone walking down the hallway outside. Eli's hands remained folded on the table, but his thumbs were moving, rubbing against each other. A small, unconscious gesture. Anxiety. I didn't watch her die, Eli said quietly. Where? You when she died? In my room. Were you alone? A pause. Yes. Eli, we recovered audio from your tablet, from March 14th. There were two voices, yours and someone else's. A man. Was that your father? Eli's thumbs rubbed faster. I don't remember. You don't remember if your father was in your room the night your mother died? No. Eli, I don't remember. His voice rose slightly. Not a shout, but louder than before. A flash of something real breaking through. Dr. Foley didn't react to the volume. She just waited. Eli took a breath, composed himself. When he spoke again, his voice was back to its usual calm tone. I'm sorry, I don't remember that night very clearly. Why not? I don't know. Maybe I was in shock. Were you in shock when you made the journal entries? When you recorded videos? When you edited out 37 minutes from the night she died? Eli said nothing. Dr. Foley pulled out a printed photograph, slid it across the table. The image from the library security camera. Eli and Derek together. This is you, she said. February 15th, with your father. What were you talking about? Eli looked at the photo. His expression was unreadable. Again, the mask back in place. I don't know. You don't remember what you talked about 6 weeks ago? No. Eli, this isn't helping you. Lying isn't helping you. I'm not lying. I don't remember. Harris stepped forward from the window. He'd been quiet for 20 minutes. Now it was his turn. Eli, he said, his voice firm but not unkind. Your mother loved you, you know that, right? Eli glanced at Harris. Yes. She tried to help you. She tried to understand you. She made appointments with therapists. She documented her concerns because she was worried. About you, about herself, about what was happening in that house. I know. But you didn't help her. Eli looked down. You watched her struggle, Harris continued. You documented it. You studied it. And when she needed you most, you did nothing. I didn't know. Yes, you did. Harris pulled out his own phone, showed Eli a screenshot of one of his journal entries. Mom mentioned therapy again, refused. She didn't push. She's losing confidence in her ability to fix me. Good. You wrote good, Harris said. Your mother was losing confidence, giving up on helping you, and you wrote good. Why? Eli stared at the phone screen. Because you wanted her to give up, Harris said. You wanted her to stop trying, stop asking questions, stop looking at you. That's not... Then what? Tell me what good means in that context. Eli's jaw tightened. It means she would stop being stressed, stop worrying. Or it means you'd be free to do whatever you wanted without her interference. No. Harris leaned on the table, not threatening, but close enough that Eli had to look up at him. Your father taught you something, didn't he? He taught you that emotions are weaknesses, that caring about people makes you vulnerable, that the smart thing to do is watch, observe, document, but never get involved, never feel. Eli's breathing quickened slightly. And when your mother was dying, Harris continued, you applied that lesson. You watched, you observed, you documented, but you didn't help. I didn't know. She was dying. Yes, you did. No. Your mother took those pills at 2 a.m., Eli. The medical examiner confirmed that. By 2:51 a.m. you were recording. By 3:12 a.m. someone called 911 and hung up. That was your father, wasn't it? Testing to see if anyone would respond. And when no one came, you both knew it was safe. You knew you could wait. You knew by morning she'd be dead and you could call 911 and play the grieving son. That's not what happened. Then what happened? Tell us. Eli's hands were shaking now, his carefully controlled facade cracking. I can't. Dr. Foley, doctor, jumped in, her voice gentle again. Eli, it's okay, you can tell us. Whatever your father told you to do, whatever he made you believe, you were a child. You are a child. This isn't your fault. Eli looked at her, and for the first time, Harris saw something genuine in his eyes. Fear. He said, Eli's voice was barely a whisper. He said, we just watch. Dr. Foley leaned closer. Who said that? My dad. He said people make their own choices, and we can't control what other people choose to do. We can only watch and let them do it. Let them do what, Eli? Whatever they're going to do. Even if they're hurting themselves? Eli nodded slowly. He said trying to save people who don't want to be saved is pointless. He said my mom wanted this, that she'd been wanting it for a long time, and the kind thing to do was let her have it. Harris felt sick. So you let her, Dr. Foley said softly. You let her take those pills. You let her die. She made the choice, Eli said, and his voice sounded hollow, like he was repeating words he'd been taught. We didn't make her do anything. We just watched. We, Harris said. You and your father. Eli didn't respond. Your father was there that night, in your room, wasn't he? A long pause. Then, almost imperceptibly, Eli nodded. Say it, Eli. I need to hear you say it. He was there. And he told you not to help your mother. He said, Eli's voice cracked. He said if we tried to stop her, she'd just do it another time, that this was inevitable, That we should let it happen now when it would be peaceful, when she wouldn't suffer. That's not mercy, Eli. That's murder. We didn't do anything. Exactly. You didn't do anything, and your mother died. Eli put his head in his hands. His shoulders shook, but no sound came out. Dry crying. The crying of someone who'd forgotten how. Dr. Foley reached across the table, gently touched Eli's arm. Eli, I need you to understand something very important. What your father told you. That was wrong. Watching someone die when you have the power to save them, that's not neutral. That's not just watching. That's choosing to let them die. Eli looked up. His eyes were red but dry. But we didn't kill her. She killed herself. Did she? Harris said. Or did your father manipulate her into it? All those emails, all that surveillance, all that psychological pressure, telling you to document her deterioration, making her feel like she was losing her mind, making her feel alone and hopeless. And then, when she finally broke, when she took those pills, you both just watched. Like it was an experiment, like she was a lab rat you'd been conditioning for months. That's not... Eli trailed off. He looked confused, lost. Dr. Foley spoke gently. Eli, where is your father now? I don't know. When was the last time you spoke to him? Eli hesitated. The night she died. He left around 4 a.m. And you haven't heard from him? Since? No. Do you want to see him again? Eli looked at Dr. Foley, and for the first time his answer sounded honest. I don't know. The session ended 20 minutes later. Eli was escorted out by Linda, who'd been briefed on what he'd admitted. She looked devastated, kept her hand on Eli's shoulder as they walked to the car. Harris and Dr. Foley stood in the hallway. Well, Harris said. Dr. Foley let out a long breath. That was one of the most disturbing interviews I've ever conducted. Assessment? That boy has been psychologically manipulated by his father for years, probably. His entire life. Derek Keller taught him that emotions are weaknesses, that helping people is pointless, that observation without intervention is somehow neutral. He's basically programmed his son to be incapable of empathy. Can he be rehabilitated? I don't know. Maybe. With intensive therapy. But detective, we need to find Derek Keller. Because that man is dangerous. And as long as he's out there, Eli will never be free of his influence. Harris nodded. We're working on it. We've got APBs out. We're tracking his credit cards, his phone, everything. He'll surface. And when he does, we arrest him for stalking, harassment, and depending on what the DA decides, possibly for involuntary manslaughter or criminally negligent homicide. What about Eli? Harris looked down the hallway. Eli and Linda were just disappearing around the corner. That's up to the courts, but Dr. Foley, that kid admitted to watching his mother die, admitted his father was there, admitted they made a conscious choice not to intervene. That's not just passive. That's active. That's a choice. He's 13. I know. But 13 is old enough to know that when your mother is dying, you call for help. Dr. Foley didn't argue, because Harris was right, and they both knew it. The conference room at the district attorney's office was cramped with people. Detective Harris sat at one end of the long table. District Attorney Patricia Chen sat at the other. Between them, forensic. Pathologist Dr. Alan Martinez, digital forensics analyst Kevin Park, fingerprint specialist Sarah Vega, toxicologist Dr. James Reeves, and forensic psychologist Dr. Rachel Foley. Spread across the table were files, photographs, reports, and laptops displaying evidence. March 22nd, 8 days after Amanda Keller's death. D.A. Chen opened the meeting. She was 46 with 20 years of prosecution experience. She'd built her reputation on difficult cases that required piecing together circumstantial evidence into a narrative juries could understand. Let's start with what we know for, certain, Chen said. Amanda Keller died between 2 and 4 a.m. on March 15th. Cause of death, acute zolpidem intoxication combined with alcohol. Dr. Martinez, walk us through your findings. Dr. Martinez was in his 50s, gray-haired with the calm demeanor of someone who'd performed over 2,000 autopsies. He pulled up a report on his laptop. Victim ingested approximately 30 tablets of zolpidem. That's Ambien, a prescription sleep aid. Blood alcohol content was 14, well above legal intoxication. The combination created a synergistic effect, depressing her central nervous system to the point of respiratory failure. Time of death? Chen asked. Based on body temperature, rigor mortis, and lividity, I'd place it between 2:30 and 3:30 a.m., most likely around 3 a.m. Harris made a note. That aligned with the 3:12 a.m. phone call. Any signs of force? Chen asked. Anything suggesting she was made to take those pills? No. No defensive wounds. No bruising consistent with restraint. Toxicology shows no other drugs in her system. No sedatives that would have been used to incapacitate her. From a purely medical standpoint, this presents as voluntary ingestion. But, Chen said, and it wasn't a question, but there are some irregularities in the scene itself. Martinez pulled up photos of Amanda's bedroom. The pill bottle was on the nightstand, cap off, completely empty. But here's what's interesting. The pills weren't taken all at once. Harris leaned forward. How do you know? Stomach contents. She ingested the pills over approximately 45 minutes to an hour. Some were partially dissolved, some were more fully dissolved, suggesting staggered ingestion. She took a few pills, waited, took more, waited, took more. Why would someone do that? Chen asked. Dr. Foley interjected. Hesitation, second-guessing. It's actually common in suicide attempts. The person takes some pills, sits with it, decides to continue, takes more. It's not usually one decisive moment. It's a series of choices. Or, Harris said, someone was with her, encouraging her, waiting for her to take more. Chen made a note. Could someone have been in the room with her? Martinez shook his head. I can't answer that from the autopsy, but I can tell you she was conscious for at least 20 to 30 minutes after taking the first pills. She could have walked, could have talked, could have used a phone. But she didn't, Harris said. She didn't call anyone, didn't try to get help. Or, Chen said, someone prevented her from doing so. Sarah Vega, the fingerprint specialist, spoke up. That's where my findings become relevant. She pulled out a series of photographs, close-ups of surfaces from Amanda's bedroom, the pill bottle, the nightstand drawer, the doorknob. We processed the entire room for prints. As expected, we found Amanda's prints everywhere, but we also found Eli's prints in several locations, including on the pill bottle. Harris sat up straighter. Eli touched the pill bottle. Yes, but here's what's significant. The placement of the prints. Amanda's prints are on the bottom and sides of the bottle, consistent with holding it to pour out pills. Eli's prints are on the label, just the label, one thumbprint and one fingerprint. Meaning? Chen asked. Meaning he picked it up after it was empty, after the pills had been poured out. He wasn't handling it to take pills himself, he was examining it. And based on the print patterns, he was wearing gloves when he touched it, then removed one glove to pick it up. Briefly, the room went silent. Gloves, Chen said slowly. Why would a 13-year-old be wearing gloves in his own house? To avoid leaving prints, Harris said. Except he made a mistake, took one glove off, left that single print. Vega nodded. That's my assessment. And there's more. The nightstand drawer, the one where Amanda kept the pill bottles, has Eli's prints on the exterior handle. Fresh prints, left over Amanda's prints. Meaning he opened that drawer after she'd last touched it, after she'd taken out the pills. Why would he open it? Dr. Martinez spoke up. Let me add something to that. When we examined the drawer, the pill bottles inside had been moved, rearranged, like someone had searched through them. Harris thought back to the crime scene. The open drawer. the disorganized bottles inside. He was looking for something, Harris said. Or making it. Looked like she'd been searching through medications. Staging, Chen said. She turned to Kevin Park. Digital forensics. What have we got? Park opened his laptop. We've recovered partial data from the deleted sections of Eli's tablet videos. It's fragmentary, but we've got enough to piece together. Some of what happened. He played a file, audio only, static and distortion, but two voices were audible. First voice, male, older. Remember what we talked about. Second voice, younger. Yes. First voice. This is her choice. We're respecting. Static. Then, don't go in. There. Wait until morning. Understand? I understand. Park stopped the playback. That's from approximately 3:15 a.m. on March 15th, 15 minutes after we believe Amanda died. That's Derek Keller, Harris said. Has to be. Voice analysis confirms a 92% probability. Matched to Derek's voice from old recordings, Park said. We pulled samples from a voicemail he left for Amanda back in 2016. It's him. Chen leaned back in her chair. So Derek was in the house, in Eli's room, after Amanda died, telling Eli not to go into the bedroom, to wait until morning. Coaching him, Dr. Foley said, preparing him for how to respond when the body was found. Park pulled up another file. We also recovered this, a text message from Derek to Eli, sent at 6:47 a.m. on March 15th, 4 hours before Eli called 911. The message appeared on screen. Remember, you woke up. You woke? You knocked. She didn't answer. You called for help, that's all, nothing else. Harris clenched his jaw. He was giving him a script. And Eli followed it perfectly, Chen said. When he called 911, when he talked to officers, when he talked to you, he stuck to the script. Dr. Reeves, the toxicologist, cleared his throat. I have something that might be relevant. We analyzed the wine bottle found in the kitchen sink. Amanda's fingerprints were on it, but the bottle had been rinsed out. Not thoroughly, but enough to remove some of the residue. Why rinse out a wine bottle? Chen asked. You wouldn't, Reeves said. Unless you were trying to obscure something. We did a detailed analysis of the residual wine in the bottle, found traces of crushed zolpidem. Someone had dissolved pills in the wine. The room erupted. Wait, Harris said. Are you saying she didn't take the pills normally? She drank them? Some of them, Reeves said. Stomach contents show both whole pills and dissolved pills. My theory is she took some pills normally, then someone dissolved additional pills in the wine to speed up the process. Make sure she ingested a lethal dose. Who dissolved the pills? Chen asked. Can't say definitively, but whoever rinsed that bottle afterwards was trying to hide the fact that pills had been dissolved in wine, because dissolving someone's medication in their drink without their knowledge is poisoning. Harris stood up, started pacing. Let me walk through what I think happened. Derek was watching the house for months, stalking Amanda, sending threatening emails. He made contact with Eli, started coaching him, teaching him to observe without interfering, teaching him that Amanda was weak, that her choice to die should be respected. On March 14th, Derek enters the house. Probably had a key. He lived there for years, could have kept a copy. He goes to Eli's room. They watch Amanda. She's depressed, drinking wine, taking pills. Maybe Derek dissolves additional pills in her wine. Makes sure she ingests enough to be lethal. Maybe she knows. Maybe she doesn't. But either way, Derek and Eli don't intervene. Around 3 a.m., Amanda dies. Derek and Eli wait. At 3:12, Derek makes a test call to 911, hangs up, sees that no one responds. They know they're safe. Derek coaches Eli, tells him to wait until morning, tells him what to say. Then, Derek leaves. By 4 a.m., he's gone. Eli waits. At 6:47 a.m., Derek texts him the script. At 10:23 a.m., Eli calls 911, plays the shocked, grieving son, and almost gets away with it. Chen was making notes rapidly. The question is, can we prove Derek was actually there? We have the audio, but a defense attorney will argue it's inconclusive. We need physical evidence putting Derek in that house. Vega spoke up. I'm still processing trace evidence from Eli's room. Fiber analysis, hair samples. Give me another 48 hours. We also have the car Mrs. Brennan saw, Harris said, parked outside the house from midnight to 4 a.m. I've pulled traffic camera footage from nearby intersections. I'm trying to get a plate number. Good, Chen said. Because right now what we have is enough to charge Eli with criminally negligent homicide, maybe involuntary manslaughter. But I want Derek. He's the architect of this. What's the theory? Dr. Foley asked. Are we arguing murder, assisted suicide? What? Chen thought about it. The challenge is that Amanda did take the pills herself. Even if Derek dissolved some in her wine, she was still conscious, still making choices. A defense attorney will argue she committed suicide and Derek and Eli were just witnesses. But they didn't just witness, Harris said. They orchestrated the conditions. They psychologically manipulated her for months. They ensured she felt hopeless and alone. They watched her die and did nothing. That's not passive. That's active. In law, we call it depraved indifference, Chen said. They exhibited such a callous disregard for human life that their inaction constitutes a criminal act. Combined with the evidence of staging, the gloves, the rinsed bottle, the deleted videos, we can argue, they didn't just let her die. They wanted her to die, and they helped create the conditions for it to happen. What about Eli's age? Dr. Foley asked. He's 13. Old enough to know right from wrong, Chen said. Old enough to understand that when someone is dying, you call for help. And old. Enough to know that standing by and watching makes you complicit. She turned to Harris. Find Derek Keller. Because when we go to trial, and we will go to trial, I want both of them sitting at that defense table, father and son. Let the jury see what they did together. Harris nodded. We've got every agency looking for him. Border Patrol, FBI, U.S. Marshals. He can't hide forever. Actually, Park said, I might have a lead on that. Everyone turned to look at him. I've been analyzing Eli's phone, the one we seized from Linda Harmon's house. It's encrypted, but I managed to bypass it. There's a messaging app, Signal, encrypted end-to-end, but I pulled the metadata. And Eli and Derek have been messaging each other constantly, multiple times a day. The last message from Derek was sent yesterday, March 21st, at 11:34 p.m. What did it say? Park pulled it up, read it aloud. Stay strong, don't tell them anything. They can't prove what they don't know. I'll see you soon. He's still in contact, Harris said. He's still coaching him. And he said, I'll see you soon, Chen noted, meaning he plans to make contact again. Harris pulled out his phone. I'm putting a surveillance team on Linda Harmon's house. 24-hour watch. If Derek tries to contact Eli in person, we'll be ready. Chen stood. All right, here's where we are. We have enough to charge Eli Keller with criminally negligent homicide and evidence tampering. We have enough to charge Derek Keller, once we find him, with stalking, harassment, and potentially involuntary manslaughter or second-degree murder, depending on how the evidence develops. The forensic team will continue processing evidence. Harris, your priority is finding Derek. Dr. Foley, I need a comprehensive psychological evaluation of Eli for the court. I want to know if he's competent to stand trial, and I want to know if he's a danger to others. Dr. Foley nodded. I'll have it within a week. Chen gathered her files. One more thing. This case is going to get a lot of media attention. A 13-year-old watching his mother die. A father coaching him to do it. This is going to be everywhere, so no leaks. No unauthorized statements. Everything goes through my office. Understood? Everyone nodded. The meeting adjourned. Harris stayed behind as the others filed out. Chen approached him. You did good work on this, detective, she said. Most people would have written this off as a suicide. You saw what others missed. It was Amanda who saw it, Harris said quietly. Those recordings she made. She knew something was wrong. She documented it because she knew no one would believe her otherwise. She was a smart woman, trapped in an impossible situation. She deserved better. Yes, Chen said. She did, and that's why we're going to make sure everyone knows the truth. About what happened to her. About who's responsible. Harris looked at the evidence spread across the table. The fingerprints, the toxicology reports, the audio files, the timeline, all of it pointing to the same conclusion. Amanda Keller didn't commit suicide. She was driven to it. Systematically, methodically, by two people who watched her deteriorate and did nothing to stop it. And when she finally broke, when she took those pills, they stood by and watched her die. Not out of ignorance, not out of fear, out of cold, calculated choice. Because Derek Keller had taught his son that watching someone die without helping them was somehow neutral, somehow acceptable. But there was nothing neutral about it. There was nothing acceptable about it. It was evil, pure and simple, and Harris was going to make sure they both paid for it. Harris left the DA's office and drove back to the precinct. It was nearly 6 p.m. He'd been working for 16 hours straight. His desk was covered with files, photographs, and notes. He sat down, rubbed his eyes. His phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Harris. A voice he didn't recognize. Male. Calm. Detective Harris. I believe you've been looking for me. Harris sat up straight, grabbed a pen, started writing. Who is this? You know who this is. Derek Keller. Harris made a hand signal to the detective at the next desk, started a trace, needed to keep him on the line. Where are you, Derek? Somewhere safe, where I can watch what you're doing to my son. Your son confessed. He told us you were there, in the house, the night Amanda died. Eli's confused, he's traumatized. He doesn't know what he's saying. He knows exactly what he's saying. A pause. Then Derek laughed, soft, almost amused. You don't understand what you're dealing with, detective. You think you've figured something out, but you haven't. Then explain it to me. Amanda made her choice. She was miserable. She'd been miserable for years. We didn't kill her. We respected her autonomy. We let her do what she wanted to do. You poisoned her wine. You coached your son to watch her die. I did no such thing. But even if I had, and I'm not saying I did, what law says you have to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Harris felt rage building, controlled it. The law says if you watch someone die and do nothing, you're criminally liable. Only if you had a duty to act. I wasn't there. Officially, I haven't been in that house for 8 years. We have evidence. You have audio that could be anyone. You have a confused child statement that will be recanted. You have theories, but you don't have proof. The detective at the next desk shook his head. Trace wasn't working. Call was being routed through multiple VPNs. Why are you calling me, Derek? To tell you to leave my son alone. He's been through enough. He lost his mother. Now you're trying to take away his freedom. You're trying to turn him into a monster. He's already a monster. You made him one. I made him strong. I made him capable of seeing the world as it really is, without delusion, without sentimentality. He's better than you, better than all of you, because he understands that feelings are just chemicals, bonds are just evolutionary programming, and death is just biology. Is that what you tell yourself, to justify what you did? I didn't do anything, detective. That's the beauty of it. I didn't force Amanda to take those pills. I didn't prevent her from calling for help. I simply observed. And so did Eli. We were witnesses. Nothing more. You're a murderer. Derek laughed again. Prove it. The line went dead. Harris slammed his phone down. The detective across from him looked up. Couldn't trace it, sorry. Harris didn't respond. He was staring at his notes. Derek was cocky, confident. He thought he'd gotten away with it, but he'd made a mistake. He'd called, which meant he was still watching, still paying attention, still invested in the outcome. And people who were invested made mistakes. Harris pulled up the surveillance request on Linda Harmon's house, made sure it was approved and active. Then he texted Linda, "If Eli tries to leave, call me immediately. If anyone approaches the house, call me immediately. Keep him inside." She responded. Within seconds, understood. Harris leaned back in his chair. Derek thought he was untouchable, but he'd call again, or he'd try to see Eli in person, because he couldn't help himself. He needed to control the narrative, control his son. And when he did, Harris would be ready. Kevin Park called. Harris at 2:47 a.m. Harris had been asleep for maybe 90 minutes. He grabbed his phone on the second ring, already sitting up in bed. "This better be important." "I got it." Park's voice was tight with exhaustion and something else. Excitement. Or maybe horror. The deleted footage from Eli's tablet. "I recovered it." Harris was already pulling on his pants. "How much?" 12 minutes. From 2:51 to 3:03 a.m. on March 15th, right in the middle of when Amanda was dying. "I'm on my way." 20 minutes later, Harris walked into the forensics lab. Park sat at his workstation, 3 empty red bull cans beside his keyboard. His eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't left the lab in 18 hours. "Show me," Harris said. Park pulled up the video file. "Before I play this, I need to warn you. It's disturbing. Not because of what you see, because of what you hear, and because of how calm they are." He clicked play. The video showed Eli's bedroom from the mounted tablet camera. The door was open. The hallway was visible. The angle captured most of the room and part of the hallway leading to Amanda's bedroom. The timestamp read 2:51:14 a.m. 2 figures were in frame. Eli sat on his bed hunched forward, hands clasped between his knees. Standing beside him was a man, tall, dark hair, wire-rimmed glasses, Derek Keller. Derek had his hand on Eli's shoulder. Not forceful, almost paternal. The audio began. Derek's voice, "You're doing the right thing." Eli didn't respond. He was staring at the floor. "Derek, look at me, son." Eli looked up. His face was visible now. He looked younger than in any other footage Harris had seen. Scared, uncertain. "Derek, your mother is in pain. Has been for a long time. You've seen it. You've documented it. She's suffering." Eli, "I know." "Derek, and we can't stop people from making their own choices. That's not our right. That's not our responsibility. Do you understand?" Eli hesitated. "But what if she changes her mind? What if she wants help?" Derek knelt down so he was eye level with Eli. His voice became softer, more persuasive. "Derek, if she wanted help, she would call for it. She has a phone right there in her room. She knows 911. She knows how to ask for help. If she chooses not to, that's her choice." Eli, "But she's my mom." Derek, "I know, and this is hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do, but this is what love looks like sometimes. Respecting someone's autonomy. Letting them go." Harris felt his stomach turn. Derek was reframing murder as mercy. Coaching a 13-year-old to watch his mother die and calling it love. Eli, "What if I get in trouble?" Derek, "You won't. Because you didn't do anything." "Wrong. You didn't hurt anyone. You didn't force anything. You simply let nature take its course." He squeezed Eli's shoulder. "Derek, tomorrow morning you're going to wake up. You're going to knock on her door. She won't answer. You'll be worried. You'll call 911, and you'll tell them exactly what happened. You woke up. She didn't answer. You were scared, that's all. Nothing else. Can you do that?" Eli nodded slowly. "Derek, say it. I need to hear you say you understand." Eli, "I understand." Derek, "Good boy." Then from down the hall a sound. Faint. A voice. Amanda's voice. "Eli?" Both Derek and Eli froze. Amanda, slurring, weak. "Eli, are you awake?" Eli started to stand. Derek's hand tightened on his shoulder, held him in place. Derek whispered, "Don't." Eli, "But she's calling me." Derek, "She's confused. The pills are working. If you go in there now, you'll just upset her. You'll make it harder." Amanda's voice again, weaker. I don't feel good." Eli was trembling, his hands clenched into fists. Eli, "What if she needs help?" Derek, "She doesn't. She's just disoriented. It'll pass. Just stay here with me." A long silence. They could hear Amanda moving, a thump, like she'd fallen or knocked something over. Then quiet. Eli was crying now, silently, tears running down his face. Eli whispered, "I can't do this." Derek's voice became firmer. "Yes, you can. You're strong. You're not like other kids. You see the world clearly. You understand that death isn't bad. It's just the end of suffering." Eli, "But I don't want her to die." Derek, "Yes, you do. You just don't realize it yet. She's made your life difficult. All the questions, all the worry, all the trying to fix you, when there's nothing wrong with you. You're perfect the way you are, and once she's gone, you'll be free." Eli looked up at his father. "Free, Derek, free to be yourself, without judgment, without someone constantly watching you, analyzing you, recording you." The irony wasn't lost on Harris. Derek was describing exactly what he and Eli had been doing to Amanda. Derek, "Trust me, son, this is for the best for everyone." More silence from Amanda's room. Eli, "How long?" Derek checked his watch. "An hour, maybe less. The amount she took, it won't be much longer." Eli, "And then what?" Derek, "Then we wait until morning. I'll leave. Around 4 Sioux. You'll stay here, sleep if you can, and in the morning you do exactly what we discussed." Eli, "What if someone saw you come in?" Derek smiled. "No one saw me. I've been watching this street for weeks. I know when people sleep, when they're awake, when it's safe." He stood up, walked to the window, looked out. Derek, "I parked 3 blocks away, walked here through backyards. No cameras, no witnesses, and I'll leave the same way." He turned back to Eli. Derek, "We've been planning this for months. Everything is accounted for. As long as you stick to the story, as long as you... Don't panic, we're safe." Eli, "You're sure?" Derek, "I'm sure. Trust your father." At 2:59:47 a.m., Derek walked to the doorway, looked down the hall toward Amanda's room. Derek quietly, "It's almost over." He walked back to Eli, put both hands on his son's shoulders. Derek, "I'm proud of you. You're doing something most people could never do. You're being strong when it matters most." Eli didn't respond. He was staring at nothing, dissociating. Derek, "In a few years, you'll understand. You'll see that this was necessary, that this was the kindest thing we could have done for her." At 3:03:21, the video ended, cut to black. Park stopped the playback. Harris sat in silence. He'd investigated dozens of murders. He'd seen crime scene photos that would haunt most people for life. He'd interviewed killers who showed no remorse. But this was different. This wasn't a crime of passion. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't even traditional murder. This was a father systematically destroying his son's moral compass, teaching him that watching someone die was acceptable, that manipulation was love, that indifference was strength. "That's child abuse," Harris said quietly. "That's psychological torture." "Yeah," Park said. "But is it murder?" Harris looked at him. "Play the rest. You said you recovered 12 minutes. Park clicked to the next file. "This is from 3:07 a.m., 4 minutes after the first video ended." The video started. Same angle. Eli was now lying on his bed, facing the wall. Derek was sitting at Eli's desk doing something on a laptop. Derek was editing files. Harris could see the screen reflected in Eli's window. Video editing software. Derek was going through Eli's tablet videos, deleting sections, covering their tracks. At 3:36 a.m., Derek stood up, walked to the hallway. Eli turned over, watching him. Derek pulled out a cell phone, old flip phone, not a smartphone, untraceable. He dialed, waited. The audio picked up a faint voice on the other end. 911, what's your emergency? Derek held the phone. Silent. Operator. Hello, is anyone there? Can you hear me? 5 seconds. Operator. If you can't speak, press a button to let me know you're there. 5 more seconds. Operator. I'm showing your call coming from Maple Ridge Drive. Are you safe? Do you need help? Derek hung up. He powered off the phone, put it in his pocket, walked back. Into Eli's room. Derek. That's done, Eli. Why did you call? Derek. To see if they trace it, if they send someone. They won't. Drop 911 calls happen all the time. They'll try to call back, get voicemail, and move on. Eli. But what if they come? Derek. They won't. But if they do, I'll leave through the back. You stay in your room. You were asleep. You didn't hear anything. Understand? Eli. Okay. Derek checked his watch. 3:15. She's gone by now. Or close to it. He walked to Eli's doorway again. Looked down the hall. Listening. Complete silence. Derek turned back to Eli. Stay. Here, I'm going to check. Eli sat up. No, don't. Derek, I need to make sure, need to confirm. Eli, please don't go in there. Derek studied his son. You don't want to know? Eli, I already know. Derek nodded slowly. Yes, you do. He didn't go into Amanda's room. He came back to Eli's bed. Sat down. Derek, you're stronger than I thought. Most kids your age would fall apart, but you're holding it together. Eli, I don't feel strong. Derek, that's because you're programmed to feel guilty. Society conditions us to think that not helping someone is the same as hurting them. But that's not true. Not helping and actively hurting are completely different. Eli, are they? Derek, of course. If I pushed your mother down the stairs, that would be murder. But if she fell on her own and I didn't catch her, that's just unfortunate. Same thing here. She made her choice we didn't make. And for her. Eli. But we didn't stop her. Derek. Because it wasn't our place to stop her. She's an adult. Adults have autonomy. Eli was quiet for a long time. Then, do you think she's scared? Right now? Derek. No. She's unconscious. She doesn't feel anything. Eli. How do you know? Derek. Because I researched it. Zolpidem overdose isn't painful. It's like going to sleep and not waking up. It's peaceful. Eli. You researched it. Derek. Of course. I wouldn't let her suffer. I'm not cruel. Harris paused the video. Looked at Park. He planned this. He researched the method. He knew exactly what dose would be lethal. He coached Eli for months. This wasn't spontaneous. This was premeditated. Keep watching, Park said. Harris pressed play. At 3:47 a.m., Derek stood up, stretched. Derek, I'm going to leave now. Remember what we talked about, morning. Knock on her door, no answer. Oh. Call 911, stick to that. Nothing else. Eli, okay. Derek, and Eli? Don't go into her room. Not until the paramedics arrive. Understand? You cannot go in there before they do. Eli, why? Derek, because you might touch something, move something, and even the smallest change can raise questions. Let them find her exactly as she is. Eli, I won't go in. Derek, good. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Derek, I love you, son. I know you don't understand that right now, but everything I've done has been to make you stronger, to prepare you for a world that doesn't tolerate weakness. Eli didn't respond. Derek, you'll thank me someday. He left. The video continued for another minute. Just Eli sitting alone on his bed, staring at the wall. At 3:51 a.m., the video ended. Park closed the file. That's everything I could recover. Harris stood up, started pacing. We have him. We have Derek on video in the house coaching Eli. We have the 911 call. We have him admitting he researched the method. We have everything. There's more, Park said. I pulled text messages between Derek and Eli going back 6 months. It's all here. The planning, the manipulation. Derek systematically prepared Eli for this. He pulled up a series of texts. September 20th, 2024. Derek, your mother seems stressed lately. Are you documenting it? Eli, yes, I have video and notes. Derek, good. Keep doing that. We need to establish a pattern. October 15th, 2024. Derek, has she mentioned suicide, even casually? Eli, once. She said she was tired of everything. Derek, did you write that down? Eli, yes. Derek, perfect. That will be important later. November 3rd, 2024. Derek, I'm sending you some information about medication. Read it carefully. You need to understand how these things work. Eli, why? Derek, just trust me, you'll understand soon. December 10th, 2024. Derek, your mother is getting worse, I can see it. Can you? Eli, yes. Derek, nature is going to take its course eventually. We just need to be ready when it does. January 22nd, 2025. Derek, soon, very soon. Are you prepared? Eli, I think so. Derek, you need to be sure. When the time comes, you can't hesitate, you can't second guess. You just watch and let it happen. Eli, okay, March 10th, 2025, 4 days before Amanda died. Derek, this weekend, it's time. Eli, how do you know? Derek, because she's ready. I can tell. She's given up. We just need to give her the opportunity.